Michael.
I don't know if we're allowed to say that.
Am I not allowed to say that?
I don't really know what the term for that is anymore.
How do white people describe that holiday?
Happy weird discount day? I don't know.
Yes. It's time for discounts. The RageSelect podcast, though, is not being discounted.
No.
We don't have deep discounts for Black Friday because this podcast is free. Mostly because of our patrons, but, also because...
Well, we could always do the discount where it's off 25. It's $25 off when it never was, that
or we're we raise the price by $50, then we're going to take $50 off, so it's free.
Yeah,
it's
so
a free podcast.
Yeah, what we did was we raised it to 25, but took 25 off.
Yeah,
so the savings have been on to you guys.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Feel the savings. Feel the savings of the RageSelect podcast here on RageSelect. I'm Jeff,
and I'm Mike. For an extra $5, never mind.
Yeah, so it's been really weird this year. Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, but it's just been raining for the last week straight in Austin, and it makes it kind of hard to do anything.
The weirdest part about it is that it was 40 degrees for a week prior, and now it's 60 but rainy.
Yeah,
and it's just what is going on with our weather?
Yeah. Also, I this would be a Thanksgiving my sister usually cooks. I usually go over to her house, and I always say, do you want me to bring anything? Should I get anything? Should I bring anything? She's like, no. And so in the past, she's made turkeys, but it's always an ordeal. It's always the Thanksgiving dinner has too many parts. It's just there's one too many parts for one person to do by themselves.
No, I get that,
yeah. And so last year on Christmas, instead of turkey or ham or any of that bullshit, her and her husband made these big fuck off steaks. It was we had shrimp cocktails with a homemade sauce, and then these really badass salads,
just like the Pilgrims did.
And then these big fat, like her husband took these big fat 2-inch steaks out, put them on the grill and grilled them. These things are like several pounds a piece.
That's amazing.
And then brought them inside to how you let meat rest after you cook it. But when they let it rest, they put a big glob of compound butter on top of it. So while it's cooling down, this butter is just melting into these steaks. Jesus, it was the best. And so my sister was like, what do you want to do for Thanksgiving this year? And I'm like, well, I don't want to make your life difficult. So if you guys just want to buy really expensive steaks and then have me over to your house to eat really expensive steaks, I can eat a really expensive steak.
That's fair.
But... I'm going somewhere with this, but then you told me a story about how you didn't get any Thanksgiving leftovers, and I was thinking today how it's a real shame that on Black Friday I don't have any Thanksgiving leftovers. And I've been thinking for years that I need to sit down and learn how to cook a Thanksgiving/Christmas turkey dinner, because I love turkey dinner. My parents are like, what do you want for Christmas? I'm like, turkey dinner. And they're like, what financial things do you want? I'm like, turkey dinner.
You can buy turkey dinner, yeah.
Yeah, but no, but it doesn't ever work. If you go to a restaurant, it
never works out.
They give you one plate. I don't want one plate of turkey dinner. I want 3 plates of turkey dinner.
Just give me the turkey. That's all I'm asking.
I want them back to back. I want to be dying by the time I'm done eating this. So I think the time may have come for me to learn how to make the turkey dinner.
Are you going to spatchcock it or whatever the fuck you keep calling it?
Oh, man. I think I got a whole different system that involves breaking the entire turkey down and sous videing it and then putting it in the broiler or using a torch.
Using a torch? Sorry, I'm picturing you with literally a fucking flamethrower torch.
Just a medieval torch. Yeah, just cook it.
This will cook it. Yeah.
Just holding a torch in my kitchen over
torturing a turkey. Tell me where the other turkeys are.
Damn you. Where are they? But I was thinking if you like turkey dinner, because that's the only problem, right? Is that I don't want to go through all the rigmarole of making a turkey dinner and then being like, I can eat a lot of turkey, Michael, but even the smallest turkey, I can't eat it for 4 days straight.
No, I can try. I've tried harder things.
So maybe that's in the new year or over Christmas or something. Maybe that's what I can do. Maybe when we have Just Dance, I can have everybody over and I can make you all eat a huge turkey dinner and then dance, my pretties, with your bellies full of turkey.
The issue of that was most people fall asleep after eating turkey.
No, not in my house. That's a terrible idea. We're having a turkey and coffee dinner. I'm serving big amounts of turkey and huge steaming mugs of espresso.
I'm injecting the turkey with coffee.
Yeah, there you go.
I did have one funny thing happen at the Thanksgiving that I just remembered.
What's that?
So before I left to my brother's, there was a car parked behind my car. behind that car was a truck. And some of you know where this is going. So what happened was I went to unlock my car, and the guy in the car noticed me unlock my car, and then just drove in reverse without looking in any shape, way, or form.
What?
And slammed right into the truck behind him.
What? He saw you unlock his car, then he was just like,
He saw me
gotta get away from this guy.
Yeah, he saw me unlock my car, and he's like, I'll move so I can leave, basically.
Right.
But he didn't look behind him at all, because it's not like the truck was like a camouflage truck or something.
Right.
The sucker was way bigger than he was.
It wasn't a Predator truck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he just slammed right into it.
Okay, all right.
The good news is the truck had a grill, so the car is the only thing that got damaged. And I was just like, I'm going to go, as they argued. And I was like, well, that was fun. But
oh my goodness, I'm still belching up steak.
also, I watched that Spider-Man and Spidey and His Amazing Friend show with my nephew.
What?
There's this
like
kids
a new
cartoon.
show?
Yeah, it's a kids cartoon, one of those preschooler kids shows. With these it's a Spider-Man cartoon, and I'm just staring at this thing, and my brother my brother's like, yeah, the funny thing about Miles is they don't really. It doesn't feel like they care about Miles that much. And I was like, you're imagining things. And there's this like montage thing when they become like superheroes or whatever.
Okay.
And they're like Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen. And I guess Miles is here is basically how it goes. And it's like, what the fuck? They didn't even like say his name.
Oh my God. Okay.
I was like, you weren't kidding. This is just literally like, and Miles, I guess. Don't worry about him. I was like, this is a little strange, but sure.
Yeah, I was actually planning on watching either that Spirited movie on Apple TV or the Christmas Story 2 that they put on HBO.
Oh, yeah.
But then I got bored and I watched trash anime instead. So
Oh, okay. What'd you watch?
I watched 2 trash animes. I watched like you know how some. You know how, like, nowadays there's the trash anime and they just have to put, like, what the name of the thing is in it?
Yeah, so people know what it is.
It's got a really long name, like, oh, I don't want to get hurt, so I'm going to max out my defense in this fantasy MMO or whatever, and that's, like, the name of the show.
Yeah.
This one is, like... this one is so simple that they didn't feel the need to elaborate very much. So the first one I watched was just called Reincarnated as a Sword. And it's like an isekai where a dude dies and he gets reincarnated as like a super, like a high level magic sword. And then he figures out he can like fly around and kill goblins and stuff. And then like, the first 20 minutes of any isekai, he just like flies around and gets like incredibly overpowered. Like nobody can defeat him. And then at a certain point, it turns out that there's like this girl that's like a slave, and she's like a little cat girl. She's like a black cat, and everybody's like, black cats are the worst. We hate them. And it's like, all right. And she ends up getting him. And so it's like he ends up teaming up with this little cat girl. And then it's just every anime. It's just every anime. It's
That's
like,
fascinating.
It's like,
how long is this anime so far?
It's like 5 or 6 episodes or 7. It's on High Dive. Those are both on High Dive. And it's like so, it's just the standard thing. She goes to the Adventurers Guild, and they're like, you're too young to be an adventurer. And she's like, no, I want to be an adventurer. And they're like, well, you have to beat this guy over here who's very powerful to become an adventurer. And she's like, okay. And they're like, haha, you'll never be able to do it. And then, like, the sword comes out and One Punch Man's everything. And they're like, oh, my God, she's so powerful. And then, like, she goes on. And then, like, okay, you're rank Z. Go out and collect herbs in the forest. And then, like, every goblin shows up and she murders them all, and they're like, but you're rank Z. And it's like, did you guys not see where she like beat up like the guy that runs your guild?
You're not allowed to be able to beat, kind of thing,
right? But it's like that time I got killed and reincarnated as a slime. It's like a comedy show, and it's a fantasy anime, and it's pretty good. The other one is called oh God, what is it called? Something.
Is it Don't Start Trouble While Drinking Your Orange Juice in South Central or whatever?
No.
That should be one of the animes. That whole fucking title should just be the anime.
what the no. It's got a dumb name, and I'm not even sure that I want to. Eminence of Shadow was the other one that I was watching. And it's another isekai, but it's literally like, this one's a little bit harder to explain, and I don't know. I don't want to get too far into it because we do have a lot of news to do, but like the very first episode is just like there's this guy, and he decided he wanted to be a superhero, and he's just regular world guy, like not magic world or anything, and he like trains and he trains and he trains. He just walks around with like the movie Kick-Ass, not just like the adjective Kick-Ass, but like a Kick-Ass bag full of like crowbars and like knives and shit.
Okay.
And so he beats up these guys that kidnap one of his classmates, and he's like, man, I've been training my entire life, and like I'm only this powerful. So like, I could probably beat up guys, but like if like a bunch of guys with guns showed up, I would die. If somebody dropped like a bomb on me, I would die. And so it's unclear at this point. I've watched like 6 or 7 episodes of this, and it's unclear, but it appears to be that at some point he decides like the only way for him to get powerful is magic. And he literally, in a fit of craziness, runs and jumps in front of the truck that hits everybody to put them into an isekai, and then comes into this isekai as a baby and decides that like he doesn't want to be the protagonist. He doesn't want to be the villain. He wants to be the secret leader of the shadow organization that works behind the scenes to combat the true evil of the world.
Okay.
And I'm not entirely sure what's going on here, because like he's just killing bandits, and he finds like this monster, and he turns the monster into a naked elf chick because
of course,
because it's a fucking anime. And then like she's like, oh, explain to me what just happened. And he's like, there's a secret organization. They're called Diablos, and they're working behind the scenes, and I'm the shadow, and we're gonna like take care of this. You're gonna be my first hench person. Okay, let me break this down.
Because only the shadow knows.
Let me break it down. So far of what I've seen of this anime, what appears to happen is that this guy is OP as hell, and he's trying to live his life as like a background character in an anime so as not to be found out, but he keeps stumbling into main character bullshit. But he appears to just continually make up like the secret organization and like what the rules are and what they're doing, and then it all ends up actually being that. And then like he's got his army of kung fu fucking waifus in black spandex that do stuff.
Sure.
And there's a point where he's like, every so often they'll show back up at my house and they'll be like, yes, we've expanded your secret organization like into the hundreds. There's hundreds of us, and we're all underground, and we're doing stuff. And I know they're just humoring me because they feel sorry for me, and they think that they could do it. But then they actually do have a giant underground organization. Everybody's like super powerful, and I don't know what's going on with this show.
So it's funny because it reminds me of the Rick and Morty thing, though. Of just is like, look, I'm just gonna tell you guys, I'm your granddad. Like this isn't a cult.
Yeah,
it's him doing that, but like somewhat on purpose, but on accident at the same time.
It's unclear to me whether like what's going on, because again, he literally makes stuff up. Like he makes up the name of the organization. Like he makes it up on the spot, like the name of the secret underground organization that is secretly ruling the entire world from behind the scenes that his organization is like combating. But then that actually turns out to be their name, and that turns out to be what they're doing. So I'm not sure if it's like...
if he's like actually doing it, or maybe he's in a coma and his mind is making this up.
Yeah, it's unclear, because they spent the entire first episode having like a whole world that actually exists, but I don't know. They're both on High Dive.
That's just crazy.
They got a lot of dumb action. They got a lot of cute anime girls. If you're looking for some trash to watch, like all the rest of the stuff is great. Fucking Chainsaw Man and My Hero and all that stuff. That's all. Like I don't have anything more to say about those than I've said before. Spy X Family rules. Mob Psycho 100 is great. Like the new Gundam show is pretty good. I like it. I watched that one last on my list, but
I keep forgetting that's happening.
But
there's too many things.
These two, the Sword Isekai is better than this one, only because I'm really confused about what's happening in Eminence and Shadow.
Well, it's because it doesn't follow the plots of a lot of other things you've been watching, so
yeah,
it's nice to be surprised, is what you're saying.
Yeah, look at this picture of him and his army of fucking kung fu waifus. There's like half of them are elves and half of them are like cat girls, and they all dress in black spandex and jump around blasting shit. And okay,
they're not bad outfits. No,
Yep.
I can pretend they're not.
Anyway, enough of this nonsense. We have news.
A lot of news.
We have news to talk about.
I don't know if it's a lot, but we have news.
Yes. First off, let's talk about shadowy organizations combating the secret other organizations that are trying to take over all of the thing that you love, because we got to talk about this Microsoft Activision deal.
The funny thing is I keep forgetting this is still like an ongoing thing.
Yes.
Because most people, when you hear somebody's bought something, that's usually the end of it.
Yep.
But I always forget that the government also has to say yes to these things,
yes.
At least in this instance.
So there is some reporting out there that some people with knowledge on the matter says the Federal Trade Commission is likely to file an antitrust lawsuit to block Microsoft's takeover of Activision Blizzard. Not a whole lot is known about this because, well, one, like, this could be the beginning of a thing where they file a suit, they have specific complaints, Microsoft has to like acquiesce to those complaints, like they have to address it, they come to a conclusion and the merger goes through. But apparently, like, the FTC this year also, they had they actually blocked, what was it? It was a merger of Penguin Random House and Simon and Schuster.
Okay.
Which I don't keep up with fucking book news, so I don't know that.
Because people don't buy books anymore, Jeff.
Yeah,
they buy video games.
Yeah,
that are based on books.
But that was that's an interesting. I mean, I can, given the the size of the paper book publishing industry, I can see where like letting every publisher merge into one giant thing that decides whether the books can exist or not is like,
it's a bad thing. Yes.
Like I've got like 5 stories here that are about Activision Blizzard, because the other thing that happened was the UK has been evaluating the sale, and they have a this UK is Competition and Markets Authority, the CMA, which has done a lot of the investigations into this deal, and they recently published like full on the brief that Microsoft published and the brief that Sony published. And so there's some little snippets in there. So like, but here's the thing, Michael, this is what I've been kind of thinking about a lot today is like, if Microsoft buys Activision, right? There are a lot of game publishers. There are a lot of platform holders, and there are a lot of video games. Like, I definitely get, and I want to kind of talk about this a little bit more, because I feel like when we first talked about this, that nobody made any like value judgments about whether this is like a good thing, a bad thing, like or if it even is, it can be described as a good or a bad thing, because
these are the discussions everybody's been having since this announcement was first made.
Sure.
But the main thing is the discussion is always, in this case at least, it's all around one specific franchise.
Yeah.
Because before, a lot of us were like, well, this is good news because it means Activision will no longer focus on the one franchise and finally make, other things. But the thing is that, like, yeah, it could still be a bad thing, ironically enough, because of the one random franchise that everyone's talking about with it. And we all know what franchise we're talking about. And it's not Candy Crush, although Microsoft really wants you to think it's Candy Crush. Because they're the ones that are like, Call of Duty's stupid. No one wants Call of Duty. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Let us buy this fucking company, and that's the argument that's happening between the two of these companies.
Yes, so that's actually that's part of that brief. There were a couple of things that came out that. Like Microsoft won in their, Microsoft makes some decent points in this particular brief. One of them is that they point to the fact that like PlayStation specifically has a bunch of platform specific games that are PlayStation exclusives that are not allowed on the Xbox,
and they're very popular,
and that they're very, very popular and sell very, very well and are very well regarded by the video game industry in general. And yet nobody's like, fucking like separate Naughty Dog. Like, I guess the question is whether the idea of companies buying, like, maybe this is where I'm trying to get to, and I'm just having to think about it on the fly. Like, up until now, nobody batted an eyelid when like Activision buys Toys for Bob, right?
Yeah.
And then forces Toys for Bob to do nothing but work on Call of Duty Warzone, even though we want them to make more Spyro and Crash Bandicoot games. But in this case, it's like because I guess Call of Duty is like the pretty much the biggest game. It's pretty much I would say you could say Call of Duty is the biggest like ongoing franchise. Like I think that Grand Theft Auto GTA 5 might technically have over time outgrossed any individual Call of Duty.
Well, it's outgrossed any individual game in general because they're printing money by literally printing money.
Yeah,
ironically enough. But the thing about Call of Duty, like you said, it is the games franchise. Ever since Call of Duty 4 came out, it overshadowed every other shooter on the market, like for years, to the point where even like it's funny because I used to joke about this, is all the toxic people left all their other franchises and went all straight into Call of Duty. Because I remember when Call of Duty 4 came out, I was like, Halo has gotten a lot less toxic. As something I've noticed.
Nobody's called my mother a whore in months.
I haven't heard the N-word once in like 3 hours, which is fucking weird as shit. So what the hell happened here? Turns out they all went to Call of Duty.
Yeah. Well, so again, a part of this brief was the argument that we saw a little while back that Microsoft put forth saying like, and I have a lot of sympathy for this particular argument, the idea that it's like, guys, Call of Duty is not so goddamn unique that somebody else couldn't put their mind to it and make a competitor to Call of Duty. Not like a spinoff, not like, oh, this is going to be the new big thing, or whatever. But like, it's just a military shooter that runs at 60 frames per second. Like, if you can get the feel of it right and get the maps of it right, like you could honestly make a game that looked like it doesn't even really have like a specific art style that is striking. It's just like military in various areas.
If you could get Medal of Honor to come out of the grave,
right?
You would have it probably would be the exact same thing.
Or if EA could stop like shitting directly into the mouth of the devs at DICE and like to make Battlefront or
both really
Battlefield. So they do put forth that argument, and it's interesting because I guess the question that comes down to it in a lot of ways is the only reason that Call of Duty is so popular is because it's Call of Duty and because they've spent a long time making that name synonymous with like there's people who are Call of Duty fans. Like they're not even like online shooter fans. They're specifically Call of Duty fans. But there's no reason to say that you could not make, like, I know it's not, but if Microsoft bought the company that made Crossfire X, right, and they put a shitload of money into making Crossfire X like a big fucking thing, like they smoothed it out, ironed it out, made it like just buttery, like free to play, it's got a battle royale mode, it's got these unlocks, got these skins or whatever, and they got Crossfire X into a place where people really wanted to play it, and the people that have had like years long problems with Call of Duty were like, oh my god, Crossfire X like is solving these problems that we've been complaining about that Activision won't fix, and suddenly people started coming over there. Like you could do it. The thing is that nobody could do it from day one. Like it's going to take 5 to 10 years worth of like work to make another Call of Duty that has the same popularity as Call of Duty.
Well, Call of Duty took that long to become Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I joke about the Medal of Honor thing, but before Call of Duty, Medal of Honor was the realistic shooter for console games.
Medal of Honor used to outsell Call of Duty.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Call of Duty 2 was considered not a very good game, if I remember correctly. I think it was either 2 or 3, where people were just like, because before Call of Duty and Medal of Honor were very much, they were all the World War games, basically. Yeah. And the reason Call of Duty 4 took off the way it did is it was one of the first console ones, because again I have to say console because PC had been doing this for a long time, which was the idea of a modern time frame for your shooters, because there was plenty of stuff like that with Counter-Strike and stuff prior to that point, but for some reason it blew people away when Part 4 came out, and it had this great campaign and all these things that like these people had never seen in a console game before. And all of a sudden, it became the thing. Because that's the thing with games. You never know what is going to catch on. Yeah. Like, fucking Flappy Bird caught on.
Right.
And no one fucking has any goddamn idea why Flappy Bird caught on. And it's the same thing with Call of Duty. Like, everyone has tried to be Call of Duty since Part 4 came out. Even Call of Duty has tried to be Part 4 since it's come out.
Yep.
And no one has been able to replicate that so far.
Yeah, so I do have a lot of sympathy for that argument. There's just like there's nothing about Call of Duty that you couldn't do. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing you can just look at this and be like, we're just going to do that, but we're going to do it better. But we're not going to like we're going to make it fucking. We're not going to take it into the past. We're not going to make it a laser future Halo game. We're just going to do a modern warfare game, but we're going to do it even better than Call of Duty. Because I mean, at the beginning of that whole thing, it was, at the beginning, it was largely considered that West and Zampella were like the fucking those were the guys, right?
Yeah.
But they've been gone for years.
Oh, for a long, long
and like
time.
Raven and Sledgehammer, I'm not saying those aren't talented studios, but like they're talented because they were handed like an incredibly popular franchise to iterate on. And that's not even to say that like I know Call of Duty fans who are like people hated Vanguard last year. Like
they hated Vanguard. They hated
Infinite.
Yeah.
They really didn't like Infinite. Like
they didn't like Ghosts, if I remember either.
Yep.
Kind of thing. And then because there's the thing that's funny about this is that the argument that Call of Duty is too big is the reason why we were fine with them buying Activision, or at least not why. It makes it sound like I speak for everyone else, but the reason why a lot of people were fine with it is because that's all they make.
Right.
Activision Blizzard. Like, Blizzard still makes their stuff that they're fucking up on their end, but that's, that's not really the argument. Because that hasn't even come up in the conversation.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny to me since they own WoW. You think that conversation would show up at some point. But it doesn't because it's a PC thing and it didn't matter anyways. Whereas the only argument is Call of Duty, but that's all they ever made.
Right.
And it's like, it's not like, if EA decides that Battlefield was only a PlayStation exclusive, people would be fine with it because it's just like it's not really because Call of Duty is the thing.
Hold on, Michael. This is the internet. I guarantee you that there'd be a lot of people who are not fine with it.
You're sorry. You're missing what I'm trying to say.
No.
Which is the fact that it's not like the government's not going to stop somebody from doing that. Mm-hmm. And it's the same with PlayStation when they have God of War as their their platform's exclusives, or the same with any of those games.
Or fucking Pokemon, man.
Yeah.
Like, Nintendo has a lock on like one of the most popular franchises that's ever existed.
Yeah, because the difference between them buying the studio and, say, PlayStation buying Bungie is very strange to me.
Yeah.
Because it's not that big in my eyes. It's not Microsoft buying Sony, and it's not Microsoft buying Nintendo or vice versa kind of thing. Sure. That's when you should be worried.
Right.
But this is just the developer that you're buying. Because if this argument was already if people are arguing over this, why wasn't this argument as huge when they bought Bethesda?
Yeah,
Bethesda
exactly.
has way more franchises attached to it.
Absolutely.
That make up a good chunk of money together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just very strange to me that Call of Duty is the one they're fighting over.
I think that the reason for that is that
because all those other ones are very unique in what they do.
I think the thing is that we sometimes forget just how big Call of Duty is.
That's true.
Like, in fact, we were talking there about Battlefield, but because on this CMA listing, Sony had Microsoft had a brief, and then Sony had like a counter brief. And one of the things they talked about was Battlefield and how here's a quote. To give a concrete example, Electronic Arts, one of the largest third-party developers after Activision, has tried for many years to produce a rival to Call of Duty with its Battlefield series. Despite the similarities between Call of Duty and Battlefield, which I would argue a little bit about that, and despite EA's track record in developing other successful AAA franchises such as FIFA, Mass Effect, Need for Speed, and Star Wars Battlefront, the Battlefield franchise cannot keep up. And again, this is a little bit apples to oranges, but Battlefield 2042 sold 88.7 million copies, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 sold 400 million copies.
Oh, really?
Yes. I think that we sometimes forget, and I don't forget as often as some other people, because I think that's the thing that a lot of times you and I and maybe some people even listening to this maybe miss, because we're not fucking Call of Duty people. It's like, I don't give a shit whether if Call of Duty wasn't it was a Mac exclusive, I wouldn't care.
That's true. I wouldn't care.
And at this point, Blizzard has fucked around so hard that it's like, take Diablo and Overwatch and WoW away from me. I don't care. These are shit games now.
No, I don't care about any of this.
This is garbage. I don't give a shit about any of this stuff. Oh yeah, I kind of want to play Diablo 4, but I don't like what you're doing. So nah, bro. I'm more interested in weird shit than I am in this. So you know, I think that the reason that it's become a question is because Call of Duty represents, like, I can't count the number of times where I'll be looking at news stories and I'll come across the NPD news story and it'll be like, here's the NPD numbers for September, and like if there's a really big game that came out and it's like, okay, God of War is number 1, and then like number 2 will be Modern Warfare 2, and then number 3 will be like Call of Duty Vanguard. It's
always the one before.
It'll be like the last year's one is still like on the top 10 of the charts. So I think Call of Duty is like one of the only franchises where you can see last year's and this year's charting at the same time.
It's very strange. I don't know. It's just like you said, we're not. Well, one of the reasons it's harder to remember now is because I'm no longer. I don't work in an environment full of people anymore.
Yeah.
Or I don't go to school anymore either, because those are the two places I would hear about, you know, people playing whatever they're playing at the time.
Yeah.
And so it's probably one of the main reasons I forget, especially because it's been, 2 years now that a lot of us have been working from home.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of thing. And I used to talk to the people all the time about what they're playing, and now it's not really a conversation I have anymore.
And RageSelect, even our audience has selected, I think that the people that like Call of Duty have, like the people that would traditionally be Call of Duty fans probably don't get super excited about RageSelect because we're not super excited about those sorts of games.
We don't really we're not a Call of Duty channel kind of thing.
But you know, it's one of those things where it's like you have to, you know, remembering like that other regions, other games sell in numbers that are unfathomable. So another part of this story is that the CMA, the UK CMA, literally put out an issues statement, which is basically a statement outlining concerns that they have about Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. And they make a good point. Where they basically say, like, Microsoft's here's a quote. Microsoft's past business practices suggest that it may be willing to make losses in the short term in order to build scale and increase its user base, which is true. Like, Microsoft as a company doesn't, like, I keep saying it would be stupid of them to cut off the amount of profit that they make from the PlayStation side of Call of Duty sales. But the thing is, Microsoft doesn't have to worry about it because they're so fucking rich.
Yeah, they have a ton of money.
Like, when I went in and looked at like what the valuation was for Sony versus the valuation, even Nintendo, and the valuation of Microsoft, you know, Microsoft got into this thing and they're pretty successful at it. But like, unlike even the other, you know, Sony has their TVs division and Nintendo sells trading cards, or I don't know what the fuck, like, you know,
they sell a lot of merchandise,
but like
a ton of merchandise.
Microsoft is a huge company, like gargantuan company, that like if they really did take Call of Duty, I guess Bryce was making this point to me last time, that like they're also big enough that they can afford to buy Call of Duty and then spend 5 years just waiting for the fervor to die down and then just be like now we're cutting it off. Like,
oh, easily. Like, because the Xbox One, I point out very easily, is that they survived the debacle that was the Xbox One, whereas Sega did not survive the debacle that was the Dreamcast.
Yep. Because
they're both very similar in how badly they went, kind of thing. The same with Nintendo and the Wii U, for instance. It's the fact that the other two companies had a lot more going on for them than, say, Sega did at the time.
Yeah,
because Sega wasn't exactly known for anything else at that point. Hell, it's barely known for anything now, kind of thing. So it's like so Microsoft has the ability to be like, well, that didn't work. What's next? Because they have the ability to spend $7 billion on random nonsense because they have that. Because they have an entire mega corporation behind them.
$70 billion.
I just said a random number, but that's exactly proving my point, though.
Yeah.
Is the fact that you would be like, even the number you said is stupid. It's $70 billion. It's just like, that's way worse.
Yeah.
That's way worse.
Yeah, yes. We're dealing with like numbers that are hard to keep.
Yeah. I can't fathom $1 billion.
I keep having to remind myself that this deal is $69 billion. Like, How much did Elon spend on Twitter? Was like
44.
44?
And I think he got some help for that.
Oh yeah, and he had to like leverage a bunch of stock and a bunch of other
like investments come in.
Yeah.
Microsoft just walked up to Activision and was like, "Here's $69 billion. I want that."
Yeah,
and they're like, "Cool, I guess."
Yeah. So like. I don't know. Okay, and then this is the last one.
And that's not even the only thing they bought. They bought fucking Bethesda not even that long ago.
They bought Bethesda. They bought Double Fine. They bought Obsidian. They're making moves, man.
They're
like,
literally that rich kid that's just like, I want that, walking to Toys R Us going, I want that one. I want that one. I want that one. While Nintendo and Sony are in the background with like maybe $100, then they can buy a lot of stuff from it. But the rich kid's clearly going to buy the RC car that they can drive, kind of thing.
No, it's like they lost the race and then they were like, okay, I'm going to buy the stadium. And now it's like against the rules for anybody but me to like run with both feet. Only I can run with both feet. Everybody else has to wear a chain on their feet when they run. Like,
shit is crazy, guys. That's all I have to say.
So yeah, the last thing of this is that after that statement, Microsoft put out this really fucking weird thing. There's more to all of this. I mean, I'll put it this way, Michael. That CMA report that came out, PlayStation submitted, I believe it was like 25 to 30 pages worth of arguments. Microsoft submitted 100 pages of arguments. I did not have time to read a 100-page legal presentation by Microsoft about why they should be allowed to buy everything.
Most people do not have time for that.
So anyway, this table that we're looking at basically is like, it's very difficult. It's so stupid. It's like Microsoft is trying to explain why some things are okay to be platform exclusive and why some things should be platform agnostic, and that they're talking about it this way. They say that, like, if your game is a huge mass market game like Call of Duty or Minecraft, then it should definitely, then the value of exclusivity goes down. It should be platform independent. You don't want to cut off all the Minecraft users on the Nintendo, right? You want all the Minecraft users.
That would be a bad idea.
On the other side, they put Psychonauts 2 and Fallout 76 as examples of, like, these are incredibly niche games with small audiences. And this would also be stupid because you want to get those niche games to as many people as they can because they're niche, right?
Yeah, because if you cut off the audience to something that's already very niche to begin with, then you've made a terrible decision.
Right. But then their sweet spot in the middle where they put Starfield and Redfall is new IP / uncertain audiences. And this says appeals to dedicated gamers, often single player. Now, I don't think I would put Starfield under uncertain audience, considering that, like, Space Elder Scrolls is a pretty established, like, that's a pitch that we all know from the beginning, and given the number of platforms that fucking Skyrim has been on, I don't think that Bethesda's next first-person RPG is I don't think there's a good case for why this needs to be platform exclusive outside of we want to get people to buy our platform. Now, I'm not even saying that's a bad thing.
No, that's not. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I get why they're trying to make that argument.
Yeah.
Because it's probably the only other thing that they have currently that they can make that argument with, since it's not out yet. And it's newer. Because it's not like they have a lot of new stuff in the pipeline anyways. So to make that argument, they're like, look, people, we don't know how well a space Skyrim will do. Mm-hmm. So who knows what the audience is like for that?
Yeah, sure.
Who knows who's going to buy space Skyrim?
This is, again, I mean, I know I was just making this exact same argument, but, like, that statement comes off to me as ridiculous. It's just like, anybody can make Call of Duty. Yeah. You just get some military guys first person, like, just put it out there. You'll sell 400 million copies. It's super simple, you guys. I don't know why you don't do it. It's like, listen to somebody espouse crypto. Right? Where you're just like, come on, you guys. Space Skyrim is going to sell gangbusters and you're going to release it on every fucking console for the next 10 years. Like, I know that that's going to sell Xboxes. However, on the other hand, on the eighth hand, you have to ask yourself,
a lot of hands, guys.
Like, is it unethical for games like we don't get when Square Enix bought IO Interactive and Hitman became an IO Interactive thing that Square Enix fucked with until it was unprofitable? Nobody was like, Companies buy other companies, and the question is,
EA does it so much it's a running gag.
yeah, kind of where do you draw the ethical line, and is it just, well, I like that game, so you guys can't do that?
That's kind of where a lot of it comes down to, because there's a lot of the arguments against doing stuff like this has always come down to like, well, I liked X franchise and I hate that X company bought it and then they never made any more ever again. Like Dead Space is a good example of that. Like when they bought I already forgot the developer's name, to be honest. I feel bad about that. But when they bought the original Dead Space developers,
Volition,
yeah, they bought Volition, and then they're like, Volition. Make Dead Space 3, and they're like, oh yeah, we have all these great ideas. That's great, but what if you do it terribly?
Yep.
And then it didn't do well, and then they made like one other thing, and then it went horribly wrong for them. And then they got shut down pretty much immediately. And again, that's a running gag with EA. So many companies that had really amazing games had that happen to them. But a lot of it just came down to us shaking our hands in the air, being like, EA.
Right.
But like, it didn't really matter in the long run in the what's the word I'm looking for? The ecosystem of gaming.
Yeah.
Just because they died didn't mean that like all of a sudden EA exploded or something.
Like I'll be honest, one of the reasons that I'm a little bit more blasé about this is because Microsoft right now, because they are generally trying a different path / kind of the underdog, has shown over the last few years about them being very hands off when it comes to these projects that these developers are making. Like, I have more ire towards Square Enix because they bought IO Interactive, made them make Hitman 2016, and then made them make it an episodic game, and then got mad when it didn't sell very well as an episodic game. And it was like, yeah, you bought this on the tail end. You bought a game franchise that has never been episodic. You made it like it had a very weak opening.
Yeah.
Or the way that they they cut off Deus Ex when there was obviously a third chapter of the Deus Ex franchise, and then they just were like, no, go make Guardians. People like Marvel movies. And then they were like, okay, how should we make it? And they're like, whatever, nerds. And then they made it, and they're like, okay, we made one. And they're like, didn't sell enough. And it's like, it sold very well. Like, didn't sell enough. So then we get excited when these companies get bought out by a fucking Swedish investment group because we're like, maybe they'll let them make the games.
Yeah.
And so in a lot of ways, I think that like part of me goes, maybe when Microsoft gets these places and they're just throwing money at stuff, maybe they'll get to make the games and we'll get some cool shit out of it. Like,
because Microsoft is, or not just Microsoft, I think Phil Spencer himself admitted when they fucked up by trying to be hands-on on a studio.
Yeah.
Which was, what was the name of the studio? King Studio? King something Studio? The guys who made Fable. They asked, they were making some game, and they were like, "Yeah, we ended up fucking with them too much," and then the studio, it failed. Like the studio had to shut down, and we fucked that up. Like he fully acknowledges that we, as Microsoft, fucked up the studio,
right,
from being able to make this. Like, I don't even remember what the name of it was. It was the
was it Fable the Journey?
No, it was the one that was
one.
It was the one after that. It was the
the asynchronous
multiplayer one. Legends.
Yeah, Legends.
Lionhead Studios was the name of the company.
Okay. Yeah,
they were two hands on it, and it all failed. It all fell apart, and the studio had to shut down. And he admits outright, he's like, look, we fucked that up, and we're trying not to do that again with all these new companies that we're buying, which were the, stuff like Double Fine in them. And we realized that we should let these companies be why people like them to begin with, and just let them do their thing.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why we all got so excited about them buying Activision, because maybe that meant they were finally going to let these studios do what they want, and now they had the backing of a mega fucking corporation about to buddy. So like it was like I want to say it in a way that doesn't make it sound like some sort of Return of the Jedi ass shit, which is just like a hopeful like ending thing. But like, but the thing is like that's not what it is. Like it's a business transaction. And we have to remember that this business transaction is huge, and the government. There's a reason the government's staring at it so well, because unlike when, say, a tree falls down in the woods, this is them looking at the idea of somebody logging a giant section of a forest.
Sure,
like that's how they're looking at it, which is the reason why why it's hard for us to fathom that.
Yeah.
Because we forget how many people like toothpicks, kind of thing.
Right.
And it's just like just because we only see maybe 10 people use a toothpick in a restaurant doesn't mean that there isn't millions of people who have heard using toothpicks.
The other thing that I don't know if that I've ever seen anybody say that I would like to though put out there real fast is also look, final thoughts on this before we move to the rest of the Activision Blizzard news.
Yes.
If Microsoft doesn't buy Activision Blizzard, that's not the end of the world.
No.
Like, it's not like Microsoft will suddenly go out of business because they weren't able to make this acquisition. It's not like Activision will go out of business because they didn't get acquired. Like,
it's not the Wicked Witch of the West when they're like, oh no, the water, government shut up with a bucket of water, I'm dying. It's like, no, they're like, stop it. And they're like, I guess. And then they walk away, and that's the end of it.
Yeah. So, you know, maybe they just go out and buy somebody else instead. Somebody who they're not going to kick up a fuss about. Somewhere where they're not spending $69 billion on buying like the most profitable franchises in video games.
Well, their argument is like, well, we just want the mobile stuff. They could easily just be like, okay, we won't buy the entirety of Activision. Just give us your mobile side for the same amount of money, if that's the argument.
Or buy somebody else. Buy somebody else. I don't know. The
way you say that sounds very weird.
What?
Buy somebody else.
Go buy somebody else.
Go buy people.
Go buy another person. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'd be interested if anybody has an opinion about like, do you unequivocally see this as a good or a bad thing to hear these specific arguments? I kind of get the idea of like consolidating more power under Microsoft's banner, but like it's kind of one of those things where like if you guys want Microsoft to not be like the most powerful corporation in the gaming industry, then we need to go back and take Bethesda away from them and take Obsidian away from them and take like we need to take a lot of the shit they've already got away from them.
Because this argument should have happened when Bethesda got bought.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's so many franchises that are so popular under those guys that that argument should have immediately started right then and there. Whereas when Microsoft has bought in studios, it's usually like one or two things that these things are known for, kind of thing. Like they bought Insomniac not that long ago.
Right.
Insomniac has a few good franchises that people like, but they're not exactly, they don't exactly make a bunch of them every year.
Yeah.
Well, same with Bungie. They bought Bungie, and they make Destiny, and that's kind of it. At this, especially now, and so it's like that argument's harder to make because Destiny doesn't make Call of Duty money.
Right.
And so this is just an argument that's hard to fathom because the sheer amount of money that's being made by what they're buying and what they're spending, it's hard to really know what's going on.
Like maybe here's a good like mental exercise to do. If you have objections about Microsoft buying Activision, would you have the same objections if Microsoft wanted to buy Take-Two? Like if they acquired Take-Two and all of the sub franchises that exist under Take-Two.
Massive.
Like, so anyway, all right, we got to move on. Let's see. From there, Overwatch. The not to just come out here with my whip that has the Overwatch 2 logo on it that I've been using for the last like 6 months.
So whip that bitch in the face.
But no, some of the who was this? They were talking. There's been some. They have specifically come out and admitted, like this is the executive producer Jared Nuis, come out specifically and have been like, we are not stupid. We see that everybody fucking hates the battle pass progression system in here. We want to make it so that this game is more rewarding to play and not as much of a horrible, stupid battle pass grind. Starting in the future. Like one of the things they talked about was whenever they have the holiday events, basically having like kind of like skins that you can work to get, because in the holiday events a lot of times the free stuff that you'll get for playing in the events are like charms or like emotes or like sprays. It seems like I get the feeling that they're looking at the numbers and they're looking at the Reddits and they're just like, we cannot be this stingy. We have to give them something. Like we're giving them jack shit. It's like fucking UHF where you just nothing, absolutely nothing.
because it's such a crazy thing. Because I'll look at Overwatch, and I'll be like, "You want the skin?" It's like, "Oh, it's a nice looking skin." Well, that'd be $30. It's like, what the fuck? No.
Yeah.
Like, why would anyone want to do that?
Oh no, but it's free to play. You didn't spend $60 on this game that gave you a shitload of free skins and free characters and whatever. It's like, no, 2 skins will cost you what the previous game costed you, where you didn't have to put any money in past that. And it's like, well, you're not tricking me, dog. I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like,
like it's like multiverses with all their costumes being like $20 each.
yeah,
It's like, yeah, if I buy 3 costumes, it's the equivalent of buying Smash Brothers Ultimate,
right,
with all its many fucking things in it.
right,
So it's like, what the fuck, guys?
right. So yes, they're going to be working on that post, I believe, season 2, which is good. The other thing they're going to be working on is apparently no one wants to play support in Overwatch 2 anymore.
Well, that was true for Overwatch 1, to be honest.
So like, look at this. This is from our Overwatch, and this was from a PC Gamer story, but this picture kind of says it all, where like it shows like the waiting times. And like the waiting times for tanks is over 20 minutes, and the waiting times for damage is under 8 minutes, and the waiting time for support is under 1 minute.
Jesus Christ.
And then to try to get people to play, they've put XP bonuses on playing support or playing all, but 100 is 1% of a level of battle pass.
Yeah.
Extra. Also, I just wanted to point out here, in case anybody forgot, Overwatch has been moving in the direction of being a more DPS Call of Duty style game, right? Like 5v5, a lot of characters were reworked to be more like offensively focused as opposed to tanks and debuffs and stuff like that. And it's like, right. So can you imagine if you were playing Call of Duty? Can you imagine playing a healer in Call of Duty? Like, one, it would be frustrating because it'd be very difficult to do since people die in a second. 2, you can only imagine how much shit you're going to get from your teammates about not magically keeping them alive when they spread out as a huge team all over the course of the entire map and then die right away. And it's like, I can't do anything about this, you jerks.
Yeah, you ran off while I was respawning, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, there's that. So, Overwatch, how?
That's always been an issue, though, with with Overwatch, was no one wanted to be support, and the issue is that everybody lost some of the stuff that made them more unique in some ways.
Yeah.
That makes even support less unique than the way they used to be.
I used to love playing support. Play Lucio. I
was thinking Lucio was such a fun support character.
Down.
But every time they make an update that makes somebody stronger for murder, the support rarely ever gets anything from it.
Sure.
And then they just get fucked over. Yep. Never on purpose, though. But it keeps happening, and no one wants to be support.
Yeah, again, like, you know what class I don't see people play very often in Battlefield? Healers.
No.
Like, or Call of Duty or Halo or
Well, Halo doesn't have a healer, so that'd be interesting.
You just think of your brain about what would a healer look like in Halo outside of the ability to res people like quickly at the push of a button, as long as they don't hit the respawn button. Like, the whole concept of bringing people back in online competitive multiplayer games is a little weird. Like,
easily.
So
it's a tricky thing, because even in games where you don't have to have a healer, you just have to walk up to a guy and then hold down a button for 5 seconds.
Right.
You die immediately too.
No
one ever fucking stays alive long enough to even be revived in these shooters.
That's if like I played Battlefield, where I think it was in Battlefield where you get downed and then you could just like start like medic. Nobody comes.
No one shows up.
So then you just respawn, and then as soon as you respawn, you see that there was a medic like running to your location. You're just like, well, I don't want to sit there on the ground
yelling medic for 30 seconds.
Yeah, I don't want to like stop playing this game so that we can have 1 extra point on our conquest map, because I didn't actually get killed because I got revived before it happened.
That was the one thing I would give Call of Duty I think it was Call of Duty a little bit credit, is that when you go down, you still have your pistol out, kind of thing. So
that was a perk that started in Modern Warfare.
Yeah. And so that gives you a reason to stay down for a little bit longer, because you're like, well, maybe I could kill the guy before I go down, kind of thing.
Yep.
But a lot of games don't really have that either. There's a lot of it's just like, you're down on the ground and then you're just staring at people running past you. And at that point, you're like, well, I don't give a fuck, even if there's a guy coming to get me.
Yup.
So, yeah, it's a tricky thing.
Let's see. More Overwatch. Overwatch 2 now will accept prepaid cell phones for their SMS, like their chat verification thing. They didn't do that in their, when it opened up, but apparently now they have. I mean, this is just one of those things where it's like, sometimes I know this is a common thing, and I'm not going to spend a long time on it, but I gotta wonder, like, what the fuck happened, Blizzard? Like, how is it that when you guys were like, oh yeah, we'll just come, or it's like they learned nothing from the guy saying on camera to a person streamed around the internet, you guys have cell phones, right? And it was like, you guys are going to make this new system of verification, and like, where was the person to go like, well, does it work with like prepaid cell phones? Because a lot of people have prepaid cell phones.
There's a lot of poorer people who want to play our game, who ironically enough will actually give us a lot of money.
Our free-to-play game.
Yeah. They tend to love giving people money when they have money randomly.
Yeah.
Because they're more willing to be like, well, I'm not going to have this again. But now you're like, 4 people can go fuck themselves. So when you said they can't use prepaid plans,
or the idea of just like, oh, we need to make our game more like Call of Duty, and have somebody raise their hand and be like, so what are the medics for? If that's the case, do you guys play Call of Duty? Anyway,
that's a whole thing.
There's just a lot of these where I feel like there are a lot of these situations where you just need like. You need somebody like us. You need like a regular person, not like a game dev or a CEO or like a project manager.
Well, it's the Green Arrow and the Justice League thing. It's like everyone that can bend steel, and Green Arrow's in the back going, I don't think we should do a lot of this crazy shit. Kind of thing, because Superman doesn't think about how cars work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's just you need that dude in the background to be like, this is a stupid idea.
Yep. And then last but not least, well, okay, we got time, maybe one, maybe two. So this is a very unclear story. This is our last Blizzard story, but it's very unclear. Apparently something has happened, and NetEase, who is the service provider in China who provides the online services for what is it? Overwatch 2, Diablo 3, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Hearthstone, and Heroes of the Storm. Something has happened in the negotiations between Blizzard and NetEase where their relationship is being severed, which means that none of these games will be available to play in China after January 23rd of next year. Like, there was some kind of and then there was also like there was a statement that was put out where some employee at NetEase basically said, like, this just goes to show you how much damage one jerk can do. But like, nobody knows who the jerk is yet. Nobody knows who the jerk store called. We've been calling the jerk store. They haven't identified the jerk yet. But something has happened to the point where like all of these Blizzard games are just not going to be playable in China after the end of January.
So fun thing is that a lot of these games are kind of a lot of this whole thing about them being played in China is the reason Diablo Immortal exists to begin with.
Yep.
Kind of thing. So this is fucking crazy as shit that somebody apparently on the Activision Blizzard side is being a jerk about, because that's a lot of money to put on, like, just leave on the table.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things is that Diablo Immortal is not on the list of things that will be shut off, because Diablo Immortal had a separate contract that was like negotiated before it came out.
What Overwatch 2 though?
It'll be going further, yeah. But Overwatch, yeah. So,
and StarCraft, especially StarCraft.
I think it's really strange to like there are a lot of like fanciful scenarios, right? Like the most vanilla one is just like NetEase wanted too much money, and we were just like, okay, then fuck you, and like you guys can go out of business when you lose the Blizzard money. We're not going to go out of business. We're Blizzard. Like we're attached to this $69 billion Microsoft deal. Like we're not going anywhere. You guys can eat a bunch of shit. The thing I like better in my head is that NetEase is like making unreasonable demands of Blizzard, because I feel like Blizzard has been trying desperately to not piss China off for like the last 5 years.
They've been trying desperately to like, because they did was it the Taiwanese thing for during one of their tournaments?
It was the guy, he had like a free Hong Kong or whatever that he held up. That was like the beginning of all this shit with Blizzard, right?
And they've been fighting. Every time something comes up that China could even like be like, hey, what's that? They would be like, nothing, and because they shot it in the head, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's probably what's actually happening, because they're saying it's a jerk, but I don't really think that's what's happening here. Because Activision, like you said, they don't want to piss off one of their biggest money makers. They made an entire mobile game because this country makes them so much money.
Yep.
I think it comes down to the fact that maybe the Chinese government wants specific things to keep happening that they don't want to start doing, because then they're going to start alienating the West at the same time.
Yep.
But nobody wants to say that out loud.
Sure.
But that's, again, this is speculation. This is all allegedly.
Like part of this deal that they won't budge on is that if somebody types the word Hong Kong into like a chat in any of their games, like their account is immediately
they die immediately.
Like, or no, just their account's deleted, right?
Yeah, something insane.
Like, because China's man. Okay, listen, man. I don't know how many people listen to RageSelect from China. Probably not many, but like
they probably got banned the second we said Taiwan.
Yeah. China's is a whiny bitch about this Hong Kong stuff. Like that. Like I get this is hardly like nuanced political opinion, but the idea that just like if you say that, they're like, you can't say that. That's not a real thing. And I'm like, I assure you it is. And they're like, well, I think it isn't. So shut the fuck up. And here come all these people that agree with me. And I'm like, I don't give a shit who agrees with you.
No.
Like, you dumb assholes. Like, I don't make any money from your market. So I'm free to be like, you guys are a bunch of babies. You're fucking... They killed... They almost... destroyed Red Candle Games because some contractor put a Winnie the Pooh joke in there, and so we could play like the best horror game that came out in a long time. Like, fuck you, thin-skinned assholes. Like, not Chinese people, but like the Chinese government. If this is a government thing, like
they have so much control over things that a lot of movies have done some weird shit just to release on there. I always bring up the Iron Man 3 thing. That's one of my favorite, like, what the fuck, that even pissed off China themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know this. I'm sure I brought it up before, which is that in Iron Man 3, they have two specific actors that they got in the movie that are that were very popular at the time in China. One of them plays the surgeon that takes out the shrapnel at the end of the movie. And the other one plays, I guess, another doctor who you see for 5 seconds walking down a hallway. So in China, they have special scenes with these characters in them that have nothing to do with the rest of the movie at all. To the point where there's like a scene with a bunch of kids and this doctor and Iron Man being like, good job, Iron Man. He's like, thank you, doctor, whatever, and he flies off. And even China was like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Because everyone wants to bend over ass backwards to make any money out of them.
Yeah.
To the point where even they are like, stop it.
Yeah. So, yeah. It'll be interesting to find out what happened here eventually. Someday somebody will tell the story. The thing that I mainly wonder is whether it's going to stick. If it's like a contract thing where then like in February all these services get turned back on, right? Because they came to an understanding or a deal.
That's most likely what will actually happen.
Yeah.
Because this will be a good way of it's a negotiation tactic.
Right.
There's plenty of times where that sort of thing has happened where somebody will be like, and then okay, a good example of that is the Spider-Man contract negotiations between them and Sony and Marvel, where they were like, oh, we're not gonna have Spider-Man be in Marvel anymore, and then it became this whole kerfuffle. And then at the last minute they're like, we've made a deal where that we'll totally still be able to do that. And then everyone's like, well, of course you did. Like, this is a money thing. Yeah. And all you had it's a game of chicken. And all you guys are doing is waiting for the other one to flinch, and then you go from there.
Which, I don't know. I guess the last thing I'll say is that, like, if you are NetEase and you're expecting Blizzard to flinch when they're, like, on track to be acquired by, like, the richest company in the United States, I don't know that that's a good bet. But
no, they're basing their idea on the way things used to be. So
yeah,
we'll see how this goes.
Who knows? And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. But when we come back, we've got plenty more news left to go. So stick around, and we'll see you in a minute. And Michael, one of the pitfalls of the way that I do the podcast is I craft all my news stories so that they just blur from one to the next. It's like a gradient, like a rainbow gradient that just goes from one story to the next.
Oh, okay.
So we're still talking about China, but this is a patently silly story. I don't know if you've seen this, but
I have not. I'm curious.
Okay, so
based on that headline.
So, a while back in 2021, the Chinese government instituted a thing where basically minors were unable to play games more than 1 hour a day on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They did this because they said that the video games were like these opiates that were dulling their children's future and destroying everything. And so kids were going to have their little accounts locked to the point where they had like a timer and they could only play for an hour on Friday and Saturday and Sunday. That's been going on for a little while. Recently, there was a report. Well, okay, no, wait. I want to set the stage for this. Before this report, there was a this editorial that was written in China that basically said, like, hey, China needs to make sure that we don't fall behind the video game industry, right? Video game industry is very profitable. There's a lot of stuff. We've got, people that we can put on this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Shortly thereafter, the Chinese government came out and announced that they had solved the gaming addiction problem of the youth, of the minors. And that now they found in a new study that minors are playing 3 hours or less of games every week. And so all of the gaming addiction has been solved, at which point all of you listening, including Michael and the face that you just made, raise your hands and go, didn't you restrict the amount of time that they could play to 3 hours?
Yeah.
So wouldn't it make sense that they were only able to play 3 hours or less of games a week? So didn't you actually not, like, quote unquote, fix anything, but you just restricted this? It would be like if they're like, Americans drive too much. It's now illegal to drive for more than 15 minutes a day. We've now found that Americans only drive for 15 minutes a day, so the problem is solved. Let's release all of the laws that we passed and do it.
Champagne for everyone.
Right. It's what? Like, what?
Yeah, if you can only play an hour a day. Okay, so actually, Jeff, here's the math. So what it is that they watched a kid playing Overwatch 2.
Yeah.
And they realized for an hour, he only plays for maybe 30 minutes of that because he wants to be a tank. And it's going to take way longer to get a game as a tank.
Right.
But if they play support, they get to play an hour.
Sure. Yeah.
Because that's how it works. No, the whole thing is stupid.
That's
the whole
stupid.
fucking thing is stupid.
That's stupid. You guys want to make... Well, the other thing that got me thinking about it was, like, if China decides that it wants to move into video game development in the long term, right, you probably would have a better... You would probably create a better pool of video game developers and programmers and people that knew what was going on with video games if you didn't restrict them to only 3 hours a week of video games.
All their games are Flappy Bird now, Jeff.
Oh, it's all Flappy Bird.
Because it's all you can play for an hour. Because you can't really make a game that's enjoyable that you can play for an hour. It's not really all that that's not entirely true, but especially in this modern day and age, it's much more difficult to make a game that has a story that's worth telling in a game at all if it's only an hour long.
I could play.
It's just not really feasible.
I could play 3 hours a week, so I will beat God of War sometime in the middle of next year.
Yeah, maybe the middle of next year. You'll maybe be able to hear a cutscene for part of it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, what happens if you're in the middle of a cutscene and your hour is up? Does it just fucking
fucked.
power the game
You're
off?
just fucked. You can never play Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh, God.
Ever in your life. Because you would never get past the cutscenes.
You know what? If that game came out today and, like, Chinese kids were mad at the number of cutscenes in Metal Gear Solid 4, I would be on their side. For once, I would be on their side. I would be like, if you only have an hour a day, you should not play Metal Gear Solid 4.
You should never play Metal Gear Solid 4 if you only have an hour a day.
Yeah, so that's stupid. That's stupid.
It's super stupid.
Stupid dumb shit for dum-dums. Yeah.
That's so dumb. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Speaking of dumb shit, I don't know. Maybe this is dumb. Maybe it's not. This is a really weird story. So Yuji Naka, the creator, one of the co-creators of Sonic the Hedgehog, has been arrested for insider trading.
Yeah, I heard about this. He got news from Eggman.
Yeah.
Should not listen to Eggman, bro.
So There's actually him and then 2 other people at Square Enix. So the last time, this guy is like full of controversy because he's the one that made.
Well, they're not even at Square, right? They knew a guy at Square.
Well,
who told them about it? Right?
I think it was one of these 2 guys that actually worked at Square, because it was him and then there were these 2 other guys.
He doesn't work at Square, as far as I know.
Well, no, he did work at Square when they made Balan Wonderland, because he made Balan Wonderland.
That's right, he made Balan
But
Wonderland.
then they cut him out 6 months before Balan Wonderland got put out.
It wasn't even Wonderland, wasn't it? It was like Wonder World or something.
Oh, I don't know. That game was
either way, it was terrible.
Too stupid.
It was a terrible fucking game.
Wonder World, yes, Balan Wonder World.
Because Wonderland makes too much sense.
Yes. So apparently, like, the whole deal here, this is a really, really, really basic insider trading story.
Oh, 100%.
Like, there's a company.
This is some Martha Stewart getting arrested shit.
That I know a lot about that, and that was a little bit weirder than. But anyway. Basically, what was happening here was there was a company called Aiming that was a mobile game developer, and this information was leaked to this man, and the other 2 did the same thing, that they were going to be making a Dragon Quest mobile game. And so before that announcement was made, these guys bought a shitload of shares in this company.
He's got to go fast, Jeff.
Yeah. And then, you know, the announcement was made. Now, actually, what's interesting is that Naka didn't, apparently, it's unclear whether or not they sold their shares. The other 2 guys, they did sell their shares at a huge, like, profit. But, you know, this is just basic insider trading, right?
Yeah.
Like,
this is like the definition of insider trading.
Yeah, it's basically just like on a test question, if somebody outlined the scenario, like, and they were like, "What is this?" and you'd be like, "Insider trading, insider trading."
Yeah, it would. They would get that answer immediately.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's just goes to show what happens when you create Sonic the Hedgehog. You build up all that karma, man. It's going to come back and bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
You know.
See, what he needed to do is he needed to get Dan Aykroyd in a gorilla suit to help him with this, and he probably would have gotten away with it.
I believe that is a reference to a movie I've never seen before.
You've never seen Trading Places?
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
That movie actually got some insider trading laws made, actually.
Okay.
Because one of the guys who made the law had watched the movie, and he was like, "Wait, that's not illegal?" And they're like, "No, it's not illegal." And he's like, "Well, we're going to make it illegal because that's fucking ridiculous."
Yep. Pretty much.
And that's a true story. Look that up. You'll find it.
Let's see. In other legal news, Nintendo is pulling some draconian Nintendo bullshit. Well, I think so. So Nintendo is DMCAing a bunch of Nintendo art that is on the website SteamGridDB. So SteamGridDB apparently is a website where you can post basically like alternative thumbnails that you can use on Steam. So like, let's say if you had a game that was on Steam and you wanted to use a different thumbnail in your library than what was on there, you could go to the SteamGridDB and people upload, and they will do it. One of the things that is on SteamGridDB is a bunch of art for Nintendo games, which you might know are not on Steam.
No.
But you can add games to Steam. Even games that are not purchased from Steam, you can add non-Steam games in there. And so there are little SteamGridDB pictures for, let's say, Breath of the Wild or Super Mario Odyssey or Splatoon. And that is what Nintendo is getting taken down, are those images, because they technically violate the publishing copyright, etc., because people would be using those to basically then like add their emulated copy of Breath of the Wild to their Steam library, use the thumbnail from SteamGridDB to put a Breath of the Wild thumbnail in their Steam library. Yeah. I don't know. This just seems really petty to me. Like,
well, that's Nintendo, though. Nintendo's the pettiest fucking copyright dudes on the planet.
That's true.
There was that great meme of like, it's like a story. It's like this kid made a Super Mario handheld that like we're using cardboard and stuff, and it was so heartwarming that Nintendo sent a lawyer to give them a cease and desist because they're that fucking petty, probably.
Yeah.
And that's because Nintendo. That's the reason it's hard to find Nintendo music on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like people used to just be able to listen to these soundtracks to these games because there's a lot of game soundtracks on YouTube that some places literally. This is one of my favorite because this isn't a Nintendo one, but it's a Final Fantasy one. Because Square does the same thing with Final Fantasy soundtracks. If somebody would upload one of the songs from like the new game, and it'd be like totally not this specific song was the name of the fucking title of the video.
Yeah,
but it's clearly the song.
Yeah,
but it was them trying to be like, maybe this will trick the automatic thing, and apparently it has, because it had not gotten taken down the last time I checked. And Nintendo's real bad about that too. Like, they're the reason a lot of emulator sites don't exist anymore. They're the reason every fan game in existence will say, "I'm gonna make a," and then they get shot.
Right?
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like Nintendo's like, we love making fun things, but if you make something fun, we're gonna break your legs every time.
Yeah.
Like, just don't fuck with Nintendo is the moral of the story, even though, you know, it's real fun to do.
I will say that, you know, up until very recently, up until about 2, maybe 3 years ago, as a person that runs a YouTube channel that does Let's Plays, every single fucking Nintendo game was claimed by them, and they got all the money for it.
That was the thing. Is that still the thing?
No, it's not. It's not anymore. Did that, and then they moved it to like their weird partner program, and then I think they just like quietly did away with it.
Is a great example, because Let's Plays were rising up in things, and they're like, stop making money off of just the people playing our games,
right?
And then it became a whole thing. So a lot of Let's Play channels stopped making Nintendo Let's Plays, and then they realized, oh, we're not getting free advertising anymore for these games.
I like the idea that one of the most popular videos on RageSelect with me and Jason and Brian playing Super Mario 3D World, screaming about Dick Bees for like 40 minutes. That's like, congratulations, Nintendo, you made your money off of the filth of Jason Murphy, Brian Brushwood, and me, Jeff from RageSelect.
They're getting that Dick Bee money.
You get that Dick Bee money. So, yeah, this is a dumb story, but I also think it's always worth pointing out that Nintendo is an incredibly conservative and kind of litigious company.
They don't know how the internet works is really what it comes down to.
Yes. In spite of that, though, apparently that new Pokemon game is the best launch weekend of sales in all of Nintendo history.
Again, this comes down to the fact that people will say in the heavens that you should boycott a game that wasn't made well, and it never works.
Yep. Apparently, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet got sold over 10 million combined units in a weekend, making it the basically best-selling Nintendo game that has ever come out. So
part of it I know is because people want to see the jank. Because there's some great posts where people be like, this is the jankiest Pokemon game I've ever played.
Yep.
But I've had so much fun the entire fucking time.
Well, I tell you what, some people like the jank, but some people are trying to get refunds, which should be incredibly difficult. But apparently some people on the Pokemon Reddit have reported that they actually have gotten refunds.
That's surprising, actually, legitimately, especially after we just talked about them being litigious as hell.
Yep.
They're very stingy.
Oh, they hate giving refunds.
They loathe it. That's why every Nintendo game is still $60 10 years later.
But apparently this has come to the point. I mean, I guess if maybe it's like the top-selling game, they can loosen it up just a little bit to be like, all right, let's get the people that are giving us bad press on the subreddit, let's give them their money back and let them go on their fucking merry way.
I think that is I think that's the main difference, is a lot of their games usually get really good reviews, and usually if it gets bad reviews, it's because the game wasn't designed in a way that people enjoyed, like Star Fox, for instance. Star Fox, what was it, Zero? What's the name of it? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Yes.
The Wii U one?
Yeah,
that one didn't do well because the game, it's not that the game was broken, it just didn't work.
It wasn't fun.
It wasn't fun. People just didn't like it.
Yeah.
And so to them, they're like, well, that's how the game was designed. That's more on you than it is on us. Like, it's bad because, it's bad game design. But in this case, the game is just fucking broken. I've seen so many clips of just the craziest shit that should not be in a game. Like should not be in a competent game. Like people falling through the ground when they step forward. When they drive one of the Pokemon, they're just like giant, gross-looking.
Oh, they turn like
avatars.
Weird, elongated. Yeah.
I've seen the one guy figured out how to climb cliffs by jumping backwards, so he can jump off the edge of the map. Like stuff that you wouldn't expect from a company that's been making games since like 1996.
The thing is that I think that I sometimes get real tired of people that are just like, this is like a PlayStation 2 game, but like. That game looks like a PlayStation 2, like a bad PlayStation 2 game. Like, I've seen PlayStation 2 games that look significantly better than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Like,
yeah, then and there's stuff.
I've seen Switch games that look way better than that.
Yeah, and there's stuff
like
Bayonetta 3 came out the same year.
Yeah,
with a bunch of crazy shit happening
like
on the screen.
3 weeks before that.
And it never slowed down. Where this game slows down from catching a Pokemon.
Yep,
kind of thing. Like that shouldn't be a thing.
Like hell,
that's the most basic thing in the game.
I think that Pokemon Arceus performed better, and it's like based on that. Like it's weird to look at this thing and go like, oh shit, this thing is like really broken. Like it looks. I don't want to, like, I've learned my lesson. I'm not going to try to play a Pokemon game. I've tried to play a lot of them. I'm not interested in them. I'm not making a value judgment. Just they're not interesting to me.
Yeah, they're not funny anymore.
But like, I don't think that the level of performance of this game should be acceptable, even to fans of Pokemon. Like, if they put out a new Hitman game and it ran like that, I would be like, this is unacceptable. This is an unacceptable level of performance.
Yeah.
Like, you control the hardware. You knew what this was. It's not like there was a Switch Pro and a Switch Lite, or there was a Switch like 4K and a Switch like OG, and it runs fine on the 4K one, but it's really choppy on the OG. It's like, no, guys, there's only one set of Switch hardware. You know what it is.
Yeah,
like,
this isn't the 3DS, new 3DS kind of thing.
So, yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy. And I know the argument for a lot of Sonic people is that, because this has popped up too, is a lot of Sonic nerds are mad because the review sites for things that Pokemon's doing that Sonic somewhat did. They're like, this is the worst made thing ever. But when Pokemon came out, they're like, there's some issues with it. And then they give them like higher scores, and people were like, this is some biased ass shit. And honestly, I think in this case, there kind of is some biased ass shit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100% agree. 100% agree. Let's see. I've talked about it a few times in the past, but I wanted to bring it up. Apparently this week, the big, massive Saints Row patch came out that had like 200 different bug fixes. And like, apparently, I read through some of them. I didn't want to read all 200. I already beat the game. It doesn't matter. But like, there's a lot of just quality of life stuff, fixing stuff, making some of the quests more fun, stabilizing the co-op and that sort of thing. So like, if you bought Saints Row but didn't refund it, and then like you were like, this is too janky, maybe give it a try, because maybe it's less janky now.
I know it was on sale for Black Friday too, so
yeah, a
lot of you guys, if you did buy it during that time,
maybe if you're listening to this on Cyber Monday, maybe it'll still be on sale somewhere,
and it'll be fixed for a lot more than it was now.
Yeah, but this is actually only the lead-in, because what's interesting is that Volition is being okay. So Saints Row didn't sell as well as Embracer Group wanted. We had a thing in the past where they were like, well, we're going to see how this franchise does once we've got the patches out for it, once we got the DLC out for it. But the head dude of Embracer, Lars Wingefor, I'm almost certainly saying that wrong.
I'm sure we fought him in God of War.
Yes. Has basically said that like Volition, who made Saints Row, is now going to be part of Gearbox. Like as that they're going to be moving as into basically a subsidiary of Gearbox in order to be pointed in the right profitable direction by the stellar management team of Gearbox.
You guys can't see me shaking my head. I want you guys to know that that's what I'm doing. Not because I hate this idea per se. It's that there's one man who I'm afraid of in this situation. Yeah. And I don't want to know if he's going to have any say in any of this.
Well, as near as I can tell, Randy's moved on to, he's a movie guy now, right?
It's true.
He's not doing anything over there.
He's trying to suck Kevin Hart's dick.
Yeah, he's super into, he's a director. He's a big time Hollywood director man now.
No, he's a producer at best.
So yeah. Yep. Here's
still
the quote.
Doing magic tricks though.
Going forward, Volition will transition to become part of Gearbox, which has all the tools, including an experienced management team in the U.S. to create future success at Volition. Maybe
it's possible.
I mean,
well, here's the thing: Gearbox still makes, whenever they make a game, the game is still a decent game. Like I've never. Like, sure, Borderlands 3 story-wise was not very good, but, it still was a competent enough game.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And they still make money kind of thing. And I don't want to give praise to Gearbox in a lot of ways because they have, they don't actually make a lot of games at the end of the day.
Yeah.
is kind of the thing, which is why it's interesting that Volition is being given, what's the word I'm looking for? An apprenticeship essentially under Gearbox, even though Volition, I think, has made way more games than they have.
Yeah.
Which is very strange, but sure, I guess.
They've certainly made more non-Borderlands games than they have.
But maybe Randy Pitchford did a magic trick to convince Lars that he's good at what he's doing. He's like, Lars, what's that behind your ear? It's my video game. He's like, oh my god, this is amazing.
I guess
hire this man.
They've published a few interesting things. They published
a lot of things, yeah.
Like published Godfall, Michael's favorite game.
Well, they made Godfall, didn't they? Also,
oh yeah, they did. I keep forgetting that. And then there's that Tribes of Midgard game that I think. Did you and I try playing that? And it was just like, this sucks.
We were like, this is terrible.
This sucks.
This
and
is a terrible fucking time. But they also did. They also published the Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition.
What was Have a Nice Death? Oh, that game. Okay. Yeah, that game actually looks like it rules. Yeah. Like that's the one that's coming out of early access. That's like a Metroidvania with a little death guy. It's all animated. Yeah, like I guess some of their published games are fine. I'm just not a big fan of the games that they've actually made.
They haven't made a lot of non-Borderlands games. They've made a few, but not a ton of them.
Yeah.
Hell, the last game they came out with was a Borderlands spinoff. And they're coming out with another Borderlands spinoff again.
Because, it was Borderlands 3 and then Tiny Tina and then Tales.
That's what I'm saying. Those last two are spinoffs.
Yeah.
So it's like those are the last two things that they've done that aren't just mainline Borderlands games.
Yep.
They're just spinoffs of Borderlands.
Yep. Let's see. In other news, Michael, it was funny. I kept seeing this headline kind of float across my screen. And I saw like some people that were bummed out by it. I was like, really? Apparently, okay. We all know everybody's played Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales. I guess if you haven't, you maybe. Oh, you know what? I can do this without spoilers. It's fine. There's a very brief point in those games where you hear the voice of Harry Osborn. And it is alluded to Harry Osborn will be a character that will probably be coming back in the next Spider-Man game.
Yeah, basically there's a bunch of side missions that have a bunch of audio recordings of Harry being like, my mom wanted to do the science thing for me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. I don't even think he's in Miles, to be honest.
No.
I think he's only in the original and the remastered version.
Oh yeah, I might just be thinking of there's a plot point that comes at the end of Miles that ties into
but
Harry,
even then he doesn't say anything either, kind of thing. It's just like either way, you never really see Harry outside of framed pictures.
True.
And that's really it.
So apparently the voice actor that did those voices is not going to be coming back for Spider-Man 2. And the reasoning seems to be that like he himself is older and that they want to make sure doing the motion capture on people that they have people whose faces like match like the age of the face of the person in the game, and so they don't want to map like some 40-year-old dude's face onto some 17-year-old. I don't know if that's a thing or not. I don't know if that's a problem, but it didn't seem like it'd be a problem to me. But
it shouldn't be that much of a problem nowadays. Because how old is Yuri Lowenthal? Do we know?
Yuri Lowenthal.
Because Yuri Lowenthal is the Spider-Man voice actor, the actual Spider-Man one themselves.
Okay.
Because this guy would have to be way older than Yuri for that to matter.
51.
Exactly. It must more have to do more with some of his voice, I feel, than his look.
Yeah.
Because they don't. Because again, Yuri Lowenthal, like we said, Yuri Lowenthal is 51. All they did was hire another guy with a very similar facial structure, and then that was it.
Yeah,
like that's all you have to do. So I think there's something more to this than just his. Well,
because we don't actually know that was what this guy, this Porter guy. What's his name? Let's see. Oh my God, guys!
It's further down.
Bury the
Scott Porter.
Lead. Scott Porter. He basically had a tweet where he said, "While I voiced Harry in the first Spider-Man, I unfortunately will not be in the sequel. This is according to a Kotaku article. He claims that it comes down to Insomniac's decision to go photoreal with its actors in the upcoming PS5 sequel, and he believed his age difference between the younger Harry character was too much to overcome. But he also,
I have a feeling it's his voice more than anything.
Yeah.
Because that happens every now and then. Well, they'll hire somebody and their voice was perfect at that age, but as they got older, something happened in their voice cords that made it to where they now sound like they're 30 now or something like that.
Right.
Where Harry's got to be like in his early 20s or something. Because that's the thing, is that game takes place around that time frame.
Yep. I don't know. Hard to say. Hard to know.
It's tricky, but I don't think it's his face. Unless, like, he would have to be, like, that much different than just that. Because, again, Yuri Lowenthal is 51, and it's not like we heard any news that they recast that guy.
True. Let's see. Ubisoft teased some new information about that new Splinter Cell game, and it's basically just concept art. They put out a 20-minute video, or like, it was like 20-minute video celebrating 20 years of stealth action, and I kind of like went through it to see if there was anything, but I'll be honest, Michael, I'm really goddamn sick of we don't have anything to show for our new game, but we still want to promote it. So let's just film like 4 people sitting at a table talking about how much the old games influenced them and show footage of like 30-year-old PS3 games or whatever. Like, I don't want that. Anyway, there's a few.
Never been a fun time.
This is the remake, and there's like a few kind of like concept art things. Can I get no? Can I get like a full screen? No, apparently not. And this all shows Sam Fisher hiding in the shadows, getting ready to pop some people. I don't know. I still remain not even, you know how people are like cautiously optimistic? I'm not even optimistic. I'm very cautious because, like, if you're remaking the original Splinter Cell, it's possible that you probably will, since you're basing it on something that I really like, you might come out with a product that I like, but I just don't trust Ubisoft to do anything right at this point.
No, I don't, because the thing is that all we're seeing are concept arts, and here's the fun thing about concept art, is even the worst games can have some of the most gorgeous concept art on the planet. But then the actual game itself has to be made. So, for instance, if I hired Matt to draw a really awesome Godzilla, but then I asked him specifically to make that in a video game, that could go horribly, horribly wrong.
Yes.
Because we all know Matt's not a video game developer.
Right.
So that's the thing, is like, you can throw all the fanciest pictures at me you want. But if your game turns out looking like the remake of Prince of Persia, then you have an issue. And again, that's also Ubisoft.
The other side of this is the fact that Ubisoft's track record over the last 3 years is not confidence inspiring.
No.
Between Skull and Bones and Beyond Good and Evil and all the bullshit that they've done from top to bottom with all their franchises, I'm not buying it.
No, this until we actually see anything game wise, then I'll actually have an opinion on it, because I'm not even like you said, I'm not optimistic. I'm not even cautious. I'm indifferent because I don't know what the fuck's happening. Outside of them going, we're going to make it. It's going to be somewhat different, and here's some concept art. We don't even know if Michael Ironside's coming back for this thing.
True.
So like that also is a big thing for me. If that isn't a thing, so.
Damn it! That was my That was my segue.
That was your segue.
Speaking of voice actor changes, let's talk about Splinter Cell. I'm starting. The coffee's starting to wear off. I'm a little tired here. Okay,
you couldn't stop me.
Yeah. We also got the news. This was rumored. We talked about this previously, but it has been confirmed that Ubisoft is back on Steam. So after a few years of trying to sell games directly through their Uplay store and through the Epic Game Store, they are literally, like, this week putting Assassin's Creed Valhalla on Steam in the run-up to the final DLC that they're putting out for that game that wraps the whole fucking way too long game up.
That game is really long. I heard very bad things about that game.
I couldn't say, but
even like the biggest Assassin's Creed fans I know were not a fan of it.
Yeah, I don't for the life of me understand the move of Assassin's Creed to an RPG as opposed to just like an action game. I liked them when they were action games.
100%. Also liked when their stories, made sense.
Yeah. Let's see. From there, speaking of stuff you can buy on Steam, the Callisto Protocol has announced that they are going to be creating basically like a like DLC slash battle pass. They're going to sell an expansion that has, in addition to various game content, will have new death animations for the main character and new like kill animations for the monsters in the game, which I think is an interesting thing that we've never seen before.
Yeah, that's definitely a new one. It's way different than horse armor.
Yes.
This is weird as shit, actually.
Yeah.
This is like, it's the closest thing I could point it to is an emote, and even then, those are usually multiplayer related things.
Yep.
This is a single player game, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, there's going to be 13 new Jacob deaths and 12 new enemy deaths, and they're in 2 separate bundles.
Okay, well, that's a lot of deaths, at least.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I was expecting you to be like, there's 2 new deaths and like 2 other things that'll cost you $15 or some shit. And like, that would have pissed me the fuck off. But
the thing
that
is,
sounds more like that somebody still had more ideas for these things as their game was being made.
Yeah.
But the thing about games and animation stuff in general is that you can't keep adding new things or you're just going to slow it down.
Yep.
So I feel like that's probably what happened here.
I think it's interesting because like I don't know how much of Callisto Protocol you've looked at, but like they do have those kind of Tomb Raider style or even Dead Space style, right? Like extreme death animations where something really like gory happens. And I actually think this is a really fun idea, right? Because nobody's going to say like, my game is ruined. I saw the same death animation twice in an hour today. Of course you did. Like when my guy, how many times did I die in Elden Ring and the same time it just you died came up on the screen?
Yeah,
like
that's all it is.
I wasn't like, this game ruined because Kratos didn't get. There wasn't like a 5-minute cutscene of Kratos getting his arms gnawed off and like bleeding out.
Although I would love if there were actual content packs for Elden Ring that did the thanks Obama when you died.
It's just called play it on the PC, man.
Yeah. No, but you know what I mean. Like, add it to everything.
Yeah.
Just because it would be pretty funny to me.
But we do know that people that are fans of horror games are fans of that sort of thing. And so, sure, why don't we sell these? Like, I don't know. That seems to be like a better, like, these packs have like armor and like skins and then like also death animations and stuff like that. And it's like, I think that's a good little like buy it for $10 because you're a fan of the game kind of like add-on pack.
I like the
thing.
idea as long as, like, again, as I mentioned, that these were like after way into development ideas for deaths, because again, you can't just stop a development just to be like, oh, I thought of another great way for him to die. Kind of, he stubs his toe and then he dies, and that guy who's animating is going to look at you and be like, no, this ship's in like a week. I don't have time to make that right now. Kind of thing, and then once they're done, then they can work on these things and add it as DLC. I'm cool with that.
That was like literally addressed in a tweet that came out where Glenn Schofield said, "To be clear, we're not holding anything back from the main game for the season pass. We haven't even started to work on this content yet. It's all new stuff that we'll be working on in the next year. Fans have asked for even more deaths, so we're making it a priority next year." It's like, yeah, great, that's fine,
great. I'm cool with that.
Even though there's some people that are just like I think it's really flaring up that old like. When they ship Street Fighter Cross Tekken and there's a bunch of characters that are literally on the disc that aren't unlocked until you buy the DLC.
On this DLC, guys. You guys forget how much of an issue that was for a bit.
Good of you to notice, because we in the gaming world have figured out, we have expressed our displeasure at on-disc DLC, but I have a story here. This is almost completely not game related, but I had to put it in because this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, because the concept of on-disc DLC still exists in the real world, but in an entirely different arena.
What does that mean?
So I have a story here of something that you probably wouldn't expect, where this is a thing that people can buy in the real world, and then there is essentially on-disc DLC for an object that exists in the real world, something that you have, a product that you have, sort of, not the exact thing,
okay,
something like it. This is terrible. I'm doing this very badly.
Yeah, I need to know what you're talking about.
Cars.
Oh, okay. Actually, I kind of know some of this.
there was this we did find out a little while back. I was watching this on, I was like TechCrunch or something like that. BMW has a thing where you have to pay a subscription service to get the seat heaters to turn on.
Yeah, the heated seats are $18 a month or something like that.
Yes, but the thing is that this is for a Mercedes, where basically, like, let me make sure that I get this. Okay, for $1,200 a year, basically this improves it updates the computer in the Mercedes and upgrades the acceleration profile that can improve the acceleration by 0.8 to 1 second.
The fuck?
Yeah, but in order to unlock this, you have to pay them so that it updates the computer so that it can unlock the acceleration increase on your car. And the thing is that if you're buying a Mercedes, an extra $1,200 a year is probably not like a big thing. But I don't like the precedent that it sets.
No. That's a terrible fucking. That's insane.
Yes,
that's okay. That's like if you were playing God of War,
yeah,
and you got this relic or this rune that was like, if you use this, your attack does like 2% more. By the way, that's like $5 a month now to use that rune. You'd be like, no, fuck you.
No, the way that I think about it is like, what if my oven only went up to 400 degrees, and in order to go up to 450 degrees, I had to give the oven manufacturer an extra $8 a month? Like,
well, the thing is this sort of precedent has kind of already been an issue in tractors at the moment. A lot of farmers are having issues with their tractors because everything is so based on these softwares that, like, the softwares would be like, you're just not allowed to do certain things because you didn't pay us enough.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like, they can't fix their own tractors, for instance, because they need technicians and all this shit. And it seems a lot of that stuff is seeping into full-blown cars now.
Yeah.
Because this is insane, and I don't like this. I don't like this idea at all. And I really am tired of the fact that cars having computers is way more of a bad thing as time goes on than it was in the beginning. Because before, all the worry was that people were watching things on their little computers on their cars.
Sure.
Now they're charging them.
Now they're literally disabling parts of your car until you pay. They're holding you for ransom. It's a ransom. Like,
all this does is create a new market that I never thought possible, which is car piracy.
Jailbreak your fucking Mercedes.
Because now the whole thing about you wouldn't download a car has now come into fruition.
Yep.
Because now you have to download your car to make your car work.
I'm going to the Pirate Bay to download the latest firmware for my car so that I can accelerate.
Fucking madness.
Can you imagine that if that became a thing, then you know what would happen next is there would be some kind of like
DRM for cars?
No, there'd be some kind of way to check it, and you could potentially get like pulled over and fined for fucking with your car's computer.
100%.
This is my car. And then, of course, if that was the case, then they would start putting that language into the car things that basically says that like with software that this is a license, not a purchase.
No.
So
this is all stupid.
We gotta stop this shit, you guys. This shit sucks.
We should nip this one on the bud, but I don't see it happening.
Shit sucks.
So stupid.
Okay, how about some just go regular. One more regular, and then we're going on to trailers. This is kind of cool. Hyperkin, the people that made the Duke re-release controller.
They made a what? Is that a thing? Is that seriously something that they made?
Yeah.
I want to see this.
Yeah, no, there was a I don't know. Ooh, I don't know where. I'd have to look it up. Sorry, but the same company that did that is making basically a. Here, let me see if maybe I can go to Hyperkin's website. And I can do this. Is they're basically putting out like a current gen version of the Xbox 360 controller.
That's amazing.
So it's got a USB-C, and they added in the share and the options buttons and everything.
But it's still got like the really bad D-pad.
Yeah, but it's got the same shape, and they're selling it in both black and white, and it won't be wireless, but
I kind of love that idea though.
But yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing. Yeah, so here's do you need the Duke? Because apparently, oh, come on, guys. You just showed it to me. Can I search on your website for the Duke? Anybody who doesn't know, the Duke was the original Xbox controller.
This The Duke holds a special place in my heart for one specific reason. Actually, two reasons. One is because it was gigantic, and my hands are kind of small to begin with. And two, there's an old Penny Arcade comic that I always remember when I think of it.
with the playing it with the giant.
Yeah, he's holding a giant bear.
Yep.
He's like, we've replaced this controller with a giant bear. Let's see if he notices. It's like, hey, did you get a new one? Because this one feels a lot better and smaller.
Yep. $89. This one works on the Xbox Series X, Series S, Xbox One, and Windows.
I don't remember who did this other webcomic where they're like, it's like the joke was it was the guy who designed it. It's like, I don't see the issue. Then he raises his hands.
Oh, they're giant.
And they're
hands.
gigantic.
I think
hands.
it might have also been a Penny Arcade.
It might have been too. Yeah. But either way, the Duke was a very strange fucking controller.
But yeah,
because it had the white and black button. That was such a strange thing.
Yeah.
They were also basically Dreamcast controllers.
Yep.
With extra buttons, and no one seemed to notice for a while.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I was kind of thinking about how like it took me a long time to get used to them from the PlayStation controllers, but I think that I used to love the PlayStation 2 controller. Used to be my favorite because the PS1 went and then it did it, and it took me a long time to get used to the idea that they moved the left stick up, right, as opposed to having them right next to each other. But then as time went on, especially once Steam got the X input support, or games started using X input, so every PC game could essentially have controller support, because it used to be harder, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. It used to be one of getting a controller to connect to your computer was one of the hardest things on the planet.
Well, plus a lot of games, like when you plugged it in, they didn't change the icons, they didn't change any of that stuff. But so I actually have, I think somewhere around here, I have some of the wired versions of the old white, or I think there might be black ones of these controllers. Those
things are my original one.
Fucking workhorses, man. Like especially the wired ones where you didn't have to dick around with batteries for them.
Exactly. And the thing about the Xbox controller that was really good, they were really good for shooters.
Yeah.
Like a lot more than a lot of other controllers were at the time.
Yep.
But they were bad for fighting games, though, for the most part, depending on how you were with them.
Yes. So, yeah. Let's see. 17 years ago, the replica, blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to figure out if I could see a price, but I don't see a price. Anyway, y'all could look them up.
Oh, there just isn't one yet, so.
Yeah. Okay.
But good for them. That's fun.
Yeah. Trailers. So we got a lot of crazy trailers. They're really putting out. I keep forgetting that the new Fire Emblem game comes out in January.
Is it really coming out in January?
Yeah, it's like end of January. So,
I didn't realize that. I just assumed it was like a year, not years away, but like towards the end of next year or something.
Yeah, they learned their lesson. So when they announced it like a few weeks back, or a few months ago, it was like comes out January 23rd or something like that.
That's fucking nuts.
So they actually put out a big old explainer, one of those big explainer videos that Nintendo likes to do, that kind of shows all of the. That shows kind of how, because they've got this new system in Fire Emblem Engage where you get the rings that have the spirits from previous Fire Emblems, and they go over, like, they can kind of be used to like create these. You connect them to people, and like they give them more powers, and then you can kind of like activate them as like a superpower, and then they take, once you've activated them, they last for 3 rounds, and they have a cooldown, and then you can bring them back again. What I find really interesting about this, though, Michael, is we were talking about Pokemon before, right? Like, doesn't this game look fucking fantastic?
It looks fantastic.
Like,
actually,
it's super crisp and very like the environments in the background don't look like crappy PS2 Unity flips.
All the
and
character designs are really good.
Yeah.
Even like the glow that they have on this Marth model looks really good.
Yeah. And so I look at this and I go like, maybe the problem that I have isn't necessarily with like the Switch's power. It has to do with like who's making the games for it, because like this looks great. Like all of I still hate the main character's design. I would literally pay money for DLC that just made their hair all one color. Like I don't even care.
The VTuber, Jeff. The VTuber.
No. I say no. I say no.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing about the games that come out for the Switch is that depending on what you do with the hardware depends on what you get out of it.
Yeah,
it was the same for any console. It was the same for the PS4. The best example I can give is the PS4's version of God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah,
God of War Ragnarok on the PS4 is a goddamn fucking miracle.
Yep,
kind of thing. It was the same with the Uncharted series on the PS3. After a while, It was the same with a lot of the games at the end of the 360's life cycle. Like you can make games look fucking amazing when you push it to its exact limits, but you have to know the limits, kind of thing. And if you don't optimize it to make it work within that those limits, then you get something like that Pokemon game.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember watching, like, last week there was a big story trailer that I was watching with Bryce, and I was like, is this pre-rendered? It looks so good. And then I watched this one this week of actual gameplay, and I'm like, this looks really sharp and good. Like,
it does. But it's not. It's also not an open world thing. Is the thing.
Yeah. But if you can't do open world, then don't make fucking open world games.
Shouldn't.
Like,
I know that game was made. Not this game, but the game Pokemon apparently might have been made on Unity. And I'm not sure if Unity is good for open world.
But yeah, this all looks really good. I don't recognize all of the different rings that have the different Fire Emblem heroes in it are from different games. Like
she's from one of the last 3DS ones,
right? And then we saw Byleth from Three Houses
they're showing him
was in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's this.
Look, that guy's hair is all pink right there. Maybe that's what this happened with that.
They've also simplified the overworld map, so it looks more like the old kind of sprite based as opposed to the kind of like semi tilt I think that they had in Three Houses.
That's probably how they're making everything else look as good too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't like I think that like there's a little bit of a difference that they aren't like zooming in and out, which I think they did in Three Houses. But no matter what they're doing, this game looks like a lot better. I still hate the way the main character looks, but outside of that, and they showed the female version of the main character because you get to do that in Fire Emblem, right?
Yeah.
Just pick your one, and the lady version of whoever this dumb red and blue person is less stupid looking than the dude version. I don't know. Like,
it's okay.
I could just because I think the anime waifus are the pretty ones.
I think it's because you've seen more women with different colored hair
with stupid
than you've ever seen a guy with different colored hair, and I think that's all it is. I think you're just biased towards real world people with colored hair.
Maybe, possibly, or I could just be getting used to the whole concept as time goes on. So, but yeah, I think this looks really good. Like, I really can't wait to give this a shot. I just hope that it isn't 1 billion years long.
Well, it's going to be.
I will settle for 400 million years long, but not 1 billion, please. And definitely not 69 billion.
You got to beat it 12 times to get the real ending.
Definitely not 69 billion
100
years.
Jillion years later.
Let's see. From there, I actually cut a lot of trailers this week because...
Really?
Yeah. We got a features trailer for Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, the reunion, the re-release for it. Mostly this is just showing, it's showing a lot of like kind of showing the PSP version and then showing the new version. It's got some new music to it. There actually is a part that I'm not the biggest fan of where they're like, we've made all these enhancements to the combat. And I'm like, no, don't do it. No, please. I just want to play it the way that it was originally made. I don't want you guys to make it into a Kingdom Hearts. Please stop making my games into Kingdom Heartses.
This game was one of the first ones they did that was a lot more Kingdom Heartsy than the others at the time.
I just hope it's the same janky, stupid battle system that it was on the PSP and that they haven't like made it. But they haven't just basically done what they can to make it into Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like, I will say, though, it all looks absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Like, it's real hot looking. But
it's supposed to be on every... Well, I think the Switch one might not be as detailed, probably. I wouldn't be surprised, but...
Is it on the Switch?
Yeah, it's going to be on everything.
Okay. Yeah. I wonder if it's cloud-based on the Switch.
Wouldn't it be funny if the Switch one is just the PSP one?
Just a direct port of PSP one?
They like maybe update a little bit of the graphics and that's it.
Yeah. No, but I'm glad that this game is getting pulled out of the ashes for some reason.
One of the main reasons is that it's one of the main Final Fantasy stories that just was stuck on a system that no one can buy anymore.
Yep.
And you know, I don't see them doing that with Dirge of Cerberus anytime soon, because that game wasn't exactly well received at the time.
I actually liked Dirge of Cerberus, but
I know people did. I just don't think anybody. I don't see them, rushing headlong for that one.
What other PSP games they need to get off of the PSP?
They've already saved a
got
couple.
Peace Walker's out.
Yeah, Peace Walker came out. Persona 4 Golden came out eventually because that was the Vita one.
Yeah, Golden was on the Vita, but
Gravity Rush
3. The Persona 3
Yeah, that one as well.
I think
wasn't it?
that's the version they're releasing, right? Is
Yeah.
the 3 version.
I would like to see them re-release that Uncharted game they came out with on it.
I think that, and I was actually thinking that, like, now that Ragnarok is done, like, man, it would be really nice if they could just go back and remake God of War 1, 2, and 3 so they all look similar into a trilogy pack that you could put out. Because God of War 1's still hard to play.
Oh, it's super hard.
Like, I guess you could play, like, the PS3 had a collection that had 1 and 2.
Yeah, it was one of the first HD collections that ever come out, and it was a PS3 version of 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Because 3 hadn't come out yet at that point.
Was that the one where you had to, like, hold down buttons when you started the game to make it go into HD mode or something like that?
I think so.
Like,
it's been a bit. There were a lot of games around that time that were getting that treatment. Halo Anniversary Collection was a good example of that.
Yeah.
But PS3 ones, or the issue with them is that they don't have good backwards compatibility like those 360 ones did.
Yeah, true. Let's see. We got a trailer for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition, which is the next gen upgrade. I mean, there's not a lot to say here. Like, The Witcher 3 already looked really good to begin with. It looks really good with the new lighting. All the expansions are great. So if you want to play The Witcher 3 and you've got 1 billion hours and you're into that sort of thing, great. They talk about, like, new content, but I think it's mostly just that they put in a DLC armor that's the armor that Henry Cavill wears in the show.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
But it looks good,
I know people were making fun of the cover for it because the next gen cover, they think actually he looks worse on it.
Oh, yeah?
Which I thought was kind of funny, which I get because he looks a little different in the cover for it, but sure. But good for you guys. Good for this franchise, because this franchise was such not a nothing thing. It was something that, like, they made the first 2, and people were like, "This is neat, I guess." But then that third one really took off.
Well, and then they made their Skyrim.
Yeah.
Right? They made the one that everybody's played, or that everybody was, like, super interested
like Call of Duty. Call of Duty 4 was the one that everyone liked. Yeah,
picture?
People think that looks worse than the original version of his look.
Looks the same to me. I don't know.
It's because he's less angry looking, I think, on the other one. And his eyes aren't, like, glowing or something.
Okay.
But yeah, like, if you put them side by side, they're, like, really different.
I want to fuck with Witcher fans, man. I saw the comment section when they announced that Hemsworth guy was taking over, and I was just like, who cares? I don't fucking care. But
it's people are just, like, speculating on that one.
Yep. We got a 7-minute overview trailer for Warhammer 40K Darktide. What's funny about Darktide is this game, if you bought it on Steam, like, ahead of time, like, it was like one of those games where you could already be playing it right now. But
apparently it's hard to play at the moment.
But yeah, I'm just waiting for it to come out. I got plenty of shit to keep me occupied. But this just kind of goes over the whole thing. There's, like, 4 different classes, and they're all, like, prisoners that have been conscripted into this fight the chaos down on these hive worlds. And you level up. And one thing I thought was really interesting was they talk about, like, stay with your team, and it made it sound like if you stay with your team, like, you get a buff and you heal. Like, if you just stay close to the other people you're playing with. And I'm like, I guess that's one way to finally be like, stop just running around and like crazies.
That's a great idea.
I don't know, we're probably gonna play this record for this sometime next week, but I like that you can play as the big ogre dudes.
They put a lot of work into this game, but apparently it runs kind of weird at the moment. Because I've seen some people on Twitter talk about that, but I'm sure it'll be fine by the time it's fully out.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. It is interesting. You have to play it with. You can't play it kind of like by yourself. Like, you have to play it with other people. Or at least that's what it sounded like in here. Anyway.
Well, it's like Left 4 Dead, basically.
Yeah.
At least from the looks of it.
Looks good. Looks very violent. I like how violent it looks. I like how everybody's blowing up into blood and guts and gore. Environments are a little, industrial and run down and samey, but hey, that's Warhammer, baby.
That, and you're not really going to be paying attention to the backgrounds that much.
Yeah.
You're going to be too busy going, oh shit, oh fuck, oh shit, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, which are the bread and butter of those types of games.
Yep. So, can't wait to see that. Let's see. From there, we got about a minute Oh shit! I think I just closed something that I wasn't supposed to. We got about a minute. Hold on, wait. Let me make sure. That okay? No, I guess I didn't. Opera is weird. Sometimes you'll end up accidentally closing things when you're trying to click on it.
Oh, okay.
So, we got about a minute of gameplay from Level 0, which is that game. I don't know if you and I talked about it.
Yeah, this is that Among Us thing, right?
No, this
no, this is the other one. Sorry.
This is the asynchronous multiplayer.
I keep fucking doing that
with the light, where you gotta if you hit the monsters with the light, and it's like, oh, it's a gameplay trailer.
So I made the same fucking mistake last time.
Yeah, it's a gameplay trailer, but it's a minute long. Like they're literally just like kind of just blasting through and showing you. I mean, it looks like any of these other asynchronous games.
Yeah,
like just with a slightly different. I mean, I guess I was thinking like using ray tracing lighting effects would be kind of interesting in a game where light was a mechanic.
Yeah. I think that would be the most interesting thing of use of it.
Yeah.
Than anything else, but I don't know. It's a little tricky since the way ray tracing works, but I don't know.
But this one's a little weird. I don't know. I'm not. Like, I'm having a hard time getting anything that makes me excited about this one.
Well, the issue is that the asynchronous, because we talked about this last time as well, is that asynchronous multiplayer games usually are you only really get more feelings for them when they're based off of something that you already liked to begin with.
Yeah.
We talked about Killer Clowns from Outer Space, The Evil Dead, Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Even Dead by Daylight uses a lot of already existing IPs currently. Mm-hmm. Whereas this is just like, well, we want to try to make something uniquely different, which sounds like a great idea, but the problem is the second you make an asynchronous game, it's harder to like be interested in the original idea to begin with.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like if it was a single player survival thing and these things survived from light, I could see that being a really cool idea as a single player game, but as a synchronous multiplayer, I have a lot harder time seeing that work, if that makes sense.
I would have more interest in this if there was like either a single player campaign or a single player component.
Yeah.
And then there was basically like a multiplayer component on top of it. We talked a little bit about Callisto Protocol. We got one of those live action Callisto Protocol trailers. I still don't understand why the video game industry does this, Michael. It's always been very weird to me why you got to have a live action trailer for your video game.
Just show it how real everything is, Jeff.
Yeah, but it's just like it's a live action guy on top of a bunch of CGI background. So
I don't know. I only understood it when Halo did it, because Halo did some really unique shit with it.
Yeah.
But when stuff like this happens, you're like, that's interesting, I guess.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Don't get me wrong. Just like I had a weird thing with Elden Ring where they had those like live action trailers where it was just some person talking and they were like, "I am the one who's gonna kill all these monsters."
I forgot about that.
Like it's so weird. Like why did you do this? Why did you spend the money on this? Spend that money on more death animations, Callisto Protocol.
It's unique stuff, I guess. I don't know.
We got the because the new Dark Pictures game came out. We got the teaser for the next Dark Pictures game, which is technically the first one for season 2, and it is called Directive 8020, and it's going to be like a space horror thing. So I'm glad to see that the Dark Pictures thing, I don't know, I have a really hard time like knowing whether those games make any money or not.
That's the thing. I have no idea if any of these made any money.
Yeah.
They just keep coming out with them, and like it feels like they come out almost every month is what it feels like.
Yeah. Well, this year between The Quarry and The Devil in Me, right? Like the 2 this year. So
there's a lot of these games just popping up.
They're like
we talk about a lot of them. Like there's always a trailer. Like most of our podcast, I feel in the past year has been talking about one of these games.
Yep. Like they're like the Brian and Michael Bendis of game developers, which is like another thing from you guys.
Exactly.
Like,
it's very strange.
Okay.
Speaking of that, did you hear they're giving Superman back a secret identity?
No.
Yeah. Fucking Bendis originally tried to remove that, but it's back again. So
I don't know anything about. I was just thinking when I read comics like in the early 2000s, and it seemed like half the comics in the industry were being written by Brian Michael Bendis.
He writes a lot of them, but he's getting worse, to be honest.
Oh well.
He's getting slowly bad at it.
I wouldn't be. That wouldn't surprise me. I don't know if you saw this, but we got a reveal trailer for a game called Jump Light Odyssey.
Just some sort of Super Mario thing?
No, no. This is really interesting. Like this intro is basically like an 80s like when they take a Japanese animation and then they bring like Voltron. It's basically Voltron, basically like, or Macross, like BattleTech, right?
I can see that.
And what it is like this whole intro. I recommend everybody go watch it. It's like it's a little off because they can't do the faces quite anime like they do.
Yeah,
but
well, it reminds me of the animation currently for the She-Ra show.
Okay,
basically.
I can see that. Yeah. It's a little bit more anime than that, I think, but mostly just because of like the color choices and the design work.
Well, a lot of the ship stuff looks like something that would come out of that, where the character design is closer to like I said, the She-Ra thing.
Yeah. So basically, the whole idea here is that the evil villain blows up the planet, and like the space fleet is defeated, and there's just the one battleship left full of people and the princess that go on the run. And the actual game, Michael, is it's like a management sim where you're managing like the inside of this spaceship, and it's a tribute to like those old anime shows, like the first season of Gundam, where half of it is like the drama happening on the ship between battles, and like you having to resolve things and build the things that the people want, and like escape from the guys that are chasing you, and et cetera, et cetera. It's like an interesting idea, and they really kind of nailed the art style pretty well.
Yeah.
So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. Insane, but really cool.
Well, I wanted to be like, oh, is this like a space battle game? And it's like, no, it is not a space battle game. So
shit went bad.
Yeah. Let's see. Speaking of anime, we had a 3-minute Dragon Ball Kakarot Bardock gameplay trailer.
Yeah, it's just them like destroying Kanasa.
I'll be honest, Michael, I only watched about 1:30 of this because I don't understand what I'm looking at. I couldn't say anything about it, even if I paid more attention. Like I had no comments, so I thought I would just leave it here in case you had something you wanted to say about it.
Well, actually, I did watch this video, and so, because, again, I'm a big fan of the series.
No.
It's who could have suspected such a thing?
Oh my god!
No, yeah, it's a lot of the stuff that happened in the Kakarot system, where you have the two assist characters. In this instance, it's Fasa and I forgot his name. Tomo. I think his name is Tomo, but he's they're on the planet killing all the Canassians, like in the beginning of the special that's based on. Because Bardock is a crazy person, so that's mostly all the video is. It's just you watching them do the gameplay for the game to show off that the game is very much just a lot more of Kakarot, which is not necessarily a bad thing if per se. So I'm still looking forward to it, and because I really didn't expect them to come out with this at all. Like when they finished that last DLC, I was like, well, I guess that's it. The future of Trunks is the last thing, But it turns out that they're just showing everything that had the Z moniker on it, because the future Trunks was also a TV special, and so this was also a TV special with Dragon Ball Z on it. And the other two DLCs they did were considered Dragon Ball Z movies, and then that was the end of it.
I mean, what was it? 2 weeks ago we were talking about fucking Xenoverse, DLC,
yeah,
like
we're talking about Xenoverse's adding the Dragon Ball Super movie stuff to it.
Yeah,
but what's interesting about Kakarot is the fact that they've stuck to the moniker of just everything that's in it was purely under the Z umbrella for the most part, outside of like a few extra characters that appeared here and there. But the actual main stuff that you play story wise is all only the Dragon Ball Z related.
Did they put out the next gen version yet? Or
no, it comes out, I think, I want to say next January.
Is it January?
But it's pretty soon.
January 13th. Okay.
Which is very similar to when it first came out, because it first came out January 20th, something like that.
So you're gonna play it all over again?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yep. I've needed an excuse to replay that game.
Do you don't want to wait for all the DLC to be out?
Well, by the time I'm done with it, that DLC will probably be out. So,
okay.
Because it's a fairly long game for the most part, especially since I did everything last time. But I'm curious to see how it'll look on the PS5 version, as well as just like seeing the rest of the DLC on that way too.
Okay.
So I'm excited. I'm excited either way.
Let's see here. Your other favorite game, Marvel's Avengers, got a
yes
Winter Soldier narrative trailer. Spoiler alert, everybody, MODOK is returned. Who could have seen them reusing a boss?
Yeah.
Avengers reusing a final boss?
So the cloning lab, okay, the cloning lab has literally been a thing they've been working on since this fucking game came out.
Yeah.
There used to be gear that you would get when the game first came out that was like, gives you 20% more rewards if you're in the cloning lab. And that was like 2 years ago. kind of thing.
Was the cloning lab a thing?
No. Well, yes and no. So according to them, for a long time, they're like, well, we were done with the cloning labs, but the multiplayer for some reason won't stay online when you do the level. So people kept, when they were testing it, they kept disconnecting every time.
Okay.
And I guess they never fixed it. And so eventually all the patches just started taking out that equipment as unlocks. Like if you had it, you kept it, but you could no longer like unlock those pieces that said 20% whatever if you could do the cloning lab.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be it was one of the reasons why there wasn't supposed to be, why those villains were reused so often, because they were the clones of the villains,
right?
Kind of thing. So the idea was that like, oh, once the cloning lab's done, then we can have newer characters, but that never fucking happened.
Sure,
kind of thing. So and the fact that it took this long to finally refight MODOK again,
yep,
is fucking insanity. So, but people were excited in the fact that it gives them more stuff to do, and Bucky apparently isn't going to be a full blown clone character the way the Mighty Thor was, but he seems as some preliminary stuff seems he might be somewhat of a fusion of Black Widow and Captain America, but we're not really sure until we get their hands on him.
Okay.
Also, he's gonna have like a shit ton of outfits apparently.
Okay.
So the people are pretty excited.
Okay. Let's see, and then last up on the trailer parade, the thing I'm most excited for that I didn't actually realize, we got a teaser for Broforce Forever. Now, I would not be shocked if people were like, "What the fuck is that?"
I'm amazed people would be asking that, but that game came out 8 years ago.
Here's the thing, Michael. That game was in early access and never exited it.
Has it never exited?
Nope.
It was a free on PlayStation Plus thing. That's how I have it.
Or I thought so. At least this, or okay.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if it was a beta, but I have had it on free for PlayStation Plus, and I beat what was out.
No, actually, I'm sorry, not early access. I'm wrong about that. What happened was that it stopped being updated, and so everybody just assumed that at some point it was done. Yeah. But no, there is a new update coming out.
You can fight Satan and everything.
Yep.
And I beat Satan using Double Bro 7. That's who I used to beat him.
Yeah. So no, it is not like it's not in early access, but there is a new update coming for Broforce in early 2023. It's supposed to have like a shitload of new content and fun stuff for
That's
Broforce.
really exciting. Also, if you guys have never seen the launch trailer for Broforce, I highly recommend watching the launch trailer.
If you haven't played Broforce, you should go play Broforce. Broforce rules.
Yeah.
Like
the names used to be closer to the actual names of the characters originally, but
they changed them.
Well, you remember when they first did it? They weren't all just like bro. It was like very much almost just their names, and some of the designs were even way closer to what they actually look like.
It's been a long time since I played Broforce.
Well, that was the reason I discovered it originally, was because there was a news story on it where they're like, yeah, Broforce had to edit some character designs to not be like, to try to maybe avoid some lawsuits because they were too close to just that character. They're like, okay, we need to like pull back a little bit on some of these.
Yeah,
at least that's what I remember. But it's been like 9-8 years.
It seemed like when Broforce first came out, it was like Broforce was just like this fucking little indie thing that you get like whiffs of, where it's just like, no, you have to check this out. It's fucking ridiculous and it's awesome.
You and John are the reason I played Broforce, because you guys wouldn't both shut up about it from when it first was coming out.
One of the very first videos that I ever, actually the very first Patreon bonus video that I ever put out was a video of me playing Broforce while the Blood Bros remix of like all those 80s like montage songs played in the background with no commentary. It was just me playing Broforce and this whole track plays in the background, and eventually I had to take it down because that track has too much in it, and YouTube Spider finally found it and was no, absolutely not. And I was like, no, there's not even any commentary here. It's just licensed music and like this game. So.
There was that brewery or whatever, the one that's closing down soon. I don't know if it's not already closed yet. You know what I'm talking about? The one that's nearby here. We went to somebody's party to it not that long ago. It was when we went to when we did the game tournament.
Oh,
at that
yeah,
location.
yeah.
They have like a little corner with like a gaming thing, and it used to have Broforce on there. Because Devolver used to have like a little section there.
Broforce is cool.
Broforce is great. If you've never played Broforce, you should play Broforce.
Okay, we're in the final stretch now. Third wave of DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is adding Merry Mountain and Peach Gardens.
That's not a sexual thing. I know what you guys are thinking.
Yep. So there's a bunch of new stuff coming to that Mario Kart. Like the fact they're still adding tracks to Mario Kart is a little wild.
Well, this is part of that one that's supposed to have like 4 of them over the course of like almost 2 years, which is crazy that like most of them are just 4 tracks, but they're rebuilding these tracks based on like older tracks to begin with.
Yep.
Which is crazy to begin with.
Yeah, Wave 3 launches December 7th. Golf is coming to Switch Sports.
Okay.
No,
does that mean you're going to play it, Jeff? I know how much you're a fan of game golf.
November 28th. Yeah, but this is like Wii Sports Golf where you have to like pretend to hit it. Like I don't want to do that. I want to like use a controller to.
You want to be
pick
Super
where it
Mario
goes.
to take out people.
Fuck yeah, I do. Fuck yeah, I do. But yeah, if you have Nintendo Sports and you were waiting for golf is here basically. By the time you hear this, golf will be a thing. Let's see. Disney Dreamlight Village in December is adding Woody and Buzz, the Toy Story like area. Like,
do they have voices? Do we know that?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure they don't.
Okay. I was just curious because if they do, that means Jim Hanks has got another check.
Jim Hanks.
Yeah. Do you know who Jim Hanks is? Jim Hanks is Tom Hanks' brother. So every time they need a recording of Woody or anything else that he's done for like something, they hire Jim. So, for instance, Jim is the voice of Woody in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh, okay.
Like, for instance, and he's the voice of all the toys, as far as I know, too.
So when Tom Hanks doesn't want to do voices, he's just like, Jim, get in here, do this for
That's
me.
That's exactly what it is. And Jim makes like a killing off of these Tom Hanks things.
Sure.
He's even done it for Robot Chicken skits.
Okay.
It's pretty great.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's coming. Free update. Vampire Survivors
He's also in Scrubs for an episode.
is got themselves a new update with a tiny level, literally called Tiny Level Update. Tiny update that's like a very like narrow bridge that has 2 armies that are coming at each other from both sides.
People got addicted to that game.
Michael, I've said it before, I'll say it again. When we played Vampire Survivors, I kind of was a little dismissive of it, and then I played the shit out of it. Like we didn't get to the point where you start unlocking the ridiculousness, and that happens really soon after, and the unlock curve on that means that it is really one of those just like, oh shit, what is that? Okay, just one more time, and then I'll do that, and then you unlock, and you're like, oh, one more time. I think I could do this.
That just means I need to stay away from this thing.
Yeah. Let's see. Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive are potentially getting reboots.
Really?
Yes.
Maybe the reboot in Dead or Alive will have realistic proportions.
Come on.
All the sales are 0. It's like non-alcoholic Duff.
Right. Team Ninja recently did like a presentation, and part of that was them showing images of Dead or Alive and Ninja Gaiden, saying the future of Team Ninja, reboot of popular series, like in kanji above that. So.
Ninja Gaiden getting reboot is not a bad thing though, because that's a reboot of the other 2, the original Ninja Gaidens.
Yep.
So another chunk of Ninja Gaidens that aren't so hard to play that just punching you in the balls would not be a bad thing.
As somebody who's played both Neo and Neo 2, I wouldn't hold your breath on that because...
But I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying it would be nice if that's what happened.
It would be.
Who knows? That Team Ninja also knows that was kind of its selling point, though. So,
here's news that everybody, I think everybody is going to be shocked to find out that Dead Island 2 has been delayed again.
Oh my God.
It was delayed out of this year into February of next year. Now it's been delayed from February into April of next year. So
I want to say I'm mad or even disappointed, but I'm still amazed this thing's supposed to come out.
Do you want to make a wager? Do you think Dead Island 2 is going to be
will
good?
Not get delayed again
at all? No. Will it be good? Yes.
No, I don't think it will.
You don't think it'll be good?
I think it'll be passable.
Okay.
I think as the kids say, it'll be mid.
Yeah, because it's being made by the people that made Homefront: The Revolution.
Oh, that's all you had to say.
Damn Buster Games.
No. Oh, God. Jesus Christ, no.
Yep. Speaking of really crap-ass games...
Maybe they'll change the villains to North Korea.
Postal 3 has been taken off of store shelves. Postal 3 was the one that was outsourced from Running with Scissors to that other place, and it was like the worst
people hated that game
of all time. Apparently, whatever DRM system they had in their game, the servers that it phones home to have just been turned off. So the DRM has just made it completely non-functional, and Running with Scissors doesn't even like it, so they literally just delisted it from all the stores.
Good for them.
You can still find pirate copies that have the DRM ripped out of it, but
maybe you guys should just make a new 3.
Well, they made that last one, and it wasn't.
Oh, it was awful.
No regrets.
It looked awful. I saw you and Chris play it. And then we tried to play it that one time.
We did, and we stopped because it was so bad. But I will say, that game was terrible, except for the place where the cops killed each other.
That was... I laughed so hard when I got to that part of the video. I rewound it so many times because you were shocked by the fact that they're like, drop your weapon. They're like, who are they talking to?
And they're talking to each other. Yep. And then they eventually just shoot each other, and it was just like, whoa, okay, all right.
Great AI, guys. Great AI.
Yep. And then last but not least, you got a couple of things. First, we got some mods. Somebody made a mod. One of the developers on Weird West made a mod to put Weird West into first person.
That's interesting.
Which is kind of interesting. Apparently, they've got a big video that kind of goes over the whole thing, and it kind of works in first person, a little bit, but not supremely good, because since it's got the stealth stuff, it works way better from the bird's eye view.
Yeah, that, and their hands aren't designed to be always looked at up front kind of thing. But it is cool to show all the animations that the game actually does have.
Yeah.
That you don't really appreciate from a distance.
Apparently, the thing is that he was able to make this first person mod by basically gluing a camera to the tip of the nose of the main character.
Oh, that's really cool.
And so whenever they do idle animations, it'll kind of move around. The main thing is just that it's the movement and stuff is a lot jankier than you would normally expect in a first person game. But
yeah, because it wasn't designed that way.
Yeah. So it's a lot more. There's a lot more moving around than you would normally see.
That was kind of the thing with Grand Theft Auto 5's original modded version of their first person.
Yeah,
because that wasn't designed that way, and then eventually I think it became an official thing, and those were more designed that way.
Skyrim has gotten one of the most important mods that I've ever seen in my life.
What did it get?
Garlic. There's these mad lads who went in and basically took the kind of crappy garlic in Skyrim and replaced it with very high resolution 3D scans of actual human garlic.
Oh my god!
And
because they look like onions before that.
Yeah, they're these weird kind of yellow, orangey. Yeah, they just don't look great. And then they got a super high resolution garlic skin in with them. So
good for you guys.
Yeah,
just making that garlic look like garlic instead of onions.
Apparently, this is from a PC Gamer article, but apparently, this isn't the first time. There's there was another one that was called Scallions of Skyrim that just replaced the leeks that had square bottoms with leeks that had circles on the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Like they do in real life, just to make the leeks in Skyrim look better.
Even made everything less jagged on it.
Yep. And it's you guys like Skyrim too much.
Wait, does that headline for it say, why did 12,000 people download this?
Yes, this is part of the this is part of the mod page on Nexus Mods.
Yeah. They're very proud of their work.
Yep. Redid all those leaks.
Put a lot of work into this. Holy shit.
And last but not least, there's been some kind of interesting shit going on in Modern Warfare 2. Last week we talked about how the voice comms have a radius, right? So you can hear other people talking on their voice comms.
Yeah.
This is being used to let people basically start yelling at the other teams or tricking them or doing stupid shit.
I used to do that in Halo. Halo had that option too.
But now there's a group that has started to do what is called the G-Walk in Modern Warfare, which is, let's see if I can get this on Twitter so I can full screen it, which is basically this group that has found a way to to hack the movement in Modern Warfare 2 that lets them move really better, but it looks like they're crawling around like goblin style.
Yeah,
like
that one guy looks like horse coming at you.
Yeah,
they're like running on 4 legs.
Yeah, it looks like they're running on 4 legs / humping the ground, and it's really weird to see.
It's like getting attacked by zombies on certain instances.
And apparently, like a lot of people in the Call of Duty community are like, "You guys need to stop it. You're making a bad name for everybody." And they're like, "Go fuck yourself." Like, it just reminds me of back when long million years ago when I used to play Counter-Strike and everybody would bunny hop right everywhere.
It reminds me of all those times where you just like, if the one guy finds that weird movement, and people just start doing it, and it's either A, the craziest thing ever, or B, the funniest thing ever.
And I can't
a lot of times it's both.
I can't tell how they're doing it. It seems like they might be going into like prone, like starting to prone and then coming back up again type of thing.
Well, yeah, because it looks like they're kind of trying to do the slide almost. Because I think there's a slide in it. I don't really know. I don't know enough about it.
Feet first, though, right?
But I think it's the way they're doing it, where it causes them to just jump back upwards. That's really causing it.
It's just very weird. It looks like a bunch of people running around on their on 4 legs. Like, it's very bizarre. It
is legitimately scary. Like, especially that first one you see. Yeah. Because you're just like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
But if I was playing that, I'd be like, man, that's fucking amazing.
Yep,
that's going to get patched out, guaranteed. But in the meantime, that's amazing.
Yep,
I love that.
And speaking of getting patched out,
actually, you know what? I wish they don't patch it out, and then they have an esports event, and it's just that,
and everybody has
all I want
to play like that.
Exactly. God, it would be gorgeous.
Yep. That's our podcast. We're done, everybody. Thanks for listening. Another successful podcast under our belt. Michael, why don't you tell the fine folks of the internet where they can find you, where you're not helping me do this whole shenanigram thing.
You can find me on oneofus.net. We do a lot of movie television reviews. There should be a review out. I wasn't on, but there should be out for Glass Onion, the new Knives Out movie that's currently out. I don't know if it'll still be in the theater by the time this comes out, but that review should be out.
I'm thinking of trying to get to the theater this weekend sometime.
I am too, actually.
So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Yep. And then, hey, maybe if you're interested, you go to patreon.com/RageSelect. Maybe you can do that. Maybe you can kick us a few bucks. The podcast. I actually realized today, Michael, that the podcast takes like roughly 90 minutes to like select all the available stories, and then roughly an hour to put those stories in an order that flows from story to story. And then it takes about another 90 minutes for me to actually go through and read all of those stories and watch all of the associated movies and stuff with it. So, and
it takes another 5 minutes for all of that to get derailed.
Yes. Yes. And then it takes us 2.5 hours to record it. It is by far the most like work intensive part of this.
1,000%.
Michael comes over here to record videos and we're just like, we would have been done a long time ago. So if you appreciate that work, maybe patreon.com/RageSelect is a way that you could show your appreciation in addition to getting bonus videos and all that other stuff. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. So you guys know, deep down in your hearts that you need to give me $5 a month for this bullshit. If you made it all the way to the end of this 2.5 hour podcast, listen to Michael and I screaming about Activision Blizzard for the umpteenth time, you know what to do. Cyber Monday is here. Come on, give me $5. Just do it. Just do it. Do it.